Chapter 1786. All right, you've all met and gotten to know each other. I hope you can help each other in the future. Let me tell you, the final battle will come soon. At that time, you'll need to fight the enemy together. Now I'll send you back, the old man in the white robe said. Then he waved his hand and beams of light enveloped Lu Ming and the others. Then he felt dizzy. After some time, Lu Ming found that he had returned to the side courtyard of the Phoenix Palace. Long Chen, Huang Ling, and of course Bubbles were with him. Lu Ming, brother. Bubbles saw Lu Ming and pounced over, hanging on Lu Ming's shoulder. Bubbles, your cultivation has reached the Supreme Sage realm. Lu Ming looked and found that Bubbles' aura was extremely strong. He had reached the Supreme Sage realm. Yes, the old man sent me to a place and I had a strange breakthrough. There's also something extra in my head. Chirp chirp, Bubbles said in a childish voice. It must be related to the inheritance of the space-time spirit mouse. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and he was happy for Bubbles. Lu Ming, Huang Ling, my cultivation has reached the limit of the Bright Sage realm. I feel that I'll break through soon. I'll go back to the Divine Elephant sect to cultivate in seclusion, Long Chen said. All right, I wish you a smooth breakthrough, Lu Ming said. Long Chen nodded and then stepped into the air and left. Lu Ming, I'm about to break through too. I'm afraid I'll have to go into seclusion too, Huang Ling said. Great, I'll also need to go into seclusion for a while. Lu Ming nodded. He had obtained one of the 9 array formation scroll, the sealing scroll, and the divine breath technique. He needed to cultivate both. At that moment, there was a sound of something breaking through the air. A figure stepped into the air. It was Mu Qingxue. Lu Ming, Huang Ling, you finally appeared. Where have you been for the past few months? I looked for you everywhere, but couldn't find you. I thought something had happened to you. As soon as Mu Qingxue arrived, she started to complain. Qingxue, how did you know that we're back so soon? Huang Ling asked curiously. I was nearby. I saw Long Chen come out from here. I guess that you're back too, Mu Qingxue said. Qingxue, I'm sorry. It happened so suddenly that we didn't inform you when we participated in the Hunyuan sex assessment. Huang Ling didn't hide the truth from Mu Qingxue. You've participated in the Hunyuan sex assessment? Mu Qingxue nodded in realization. Lu Ming nodded and asked. Lu Ming was stunned. He remembered that it had been more than half a year since he went to the Hunyuan sect for the assessment. Perhaps the 2 months he spent in the tribe for the last assessment was just an illusion. It was not real. Perhaps it was just an instant. Lu Ming guessed in his heart. By the way, some of the geniuses who went to the Celestial City have returned. Not long ago, a genius from the Wan family came and said that he wanted to challenge Lu Ming. In the end, we blocked him and sent him back. Thereafter, the people from the Wan family spread rumors everywhere, saying that Lu Ming didn't dare to fight when he encountered a stronger opponent and was a coward. Mu Qingxue said, The Wan family again. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a cold light. They're just a bunch of clowns. There's no need to care about them. Then they chatted for a while. Huang Ling and Mu Qingxue left. Lu Ming returned to his room and entered the mountain river diagram to begin his seclusion. First, he had to cultivate the divine breath technique. Lu Ming took out the jade token for the divine breath technique and studied it carefully. Then he began to cultivate it. Lu Ming had cultivated the illusory breath technique before. Although the divine breath technique was magical, it couldn't stump Lu Ming. In just 3 days, Lu Ming succeeded in cultivating it. Then, Lu Ming took out one of the 9 scrolls of Array Dao, the sealing scroll, and studied it carefully. It's so magical. After a long time, Lu Ming sighed. The sealing scroll could unleash the magical power of Array Dao to form a sealing technique. If cultivated to the highest level, it could even seal the heavens and earth and suppress everything. This was created by a terrifying existence, and its mysteries were boundless. This is only one of the 9 scrolls of Array Dao. I wonder how magical the other 8 scrolls are? Lu Ming was really looking forward to it. In the following days, Lu Ming sat cross-legged under the Enlightenment ancient tree and focused on comprehending the Tao and cultivating the sealing technique. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. At this time, Lu Ming ended his cultivation because he sensed movement outside. Before he entered the mountain-river diagram, he had set up a sensing array in the courtyard. As long as someone came to look for him, he would sense it. With a thought, Lu Ming came out of the mountain-river diagram. When he walked out of the room, he saw Huang Ling. Huang Ling, congratulations on breaking through to the Supreme Sage realm. Lu Ming looked around and found that Huang Ling's aura was several times stronger than before. It was obvious that her cultivation had broken through. You're about to break through too. Huang Ling smiled and said, By the way, someone sent you an invitation this time. With that, an invitation appeared in Huang Ling's hand. Invitation? Who sent it? Lu Ming was curious. Jade Lake. This time, the Jade Lake Saintess of Inheritance has been born. We're holding a tea party and sending out invitations to invite all the geniuses of the ancient moon, sacred ground, to Jade Lake. Huang Ling said, Saintess of Inheritance? Lu Ming was puzzled. He remembered that the last time the Jade Lake Saintess was born, she was not called the Saintess of Inheritance. As if seeing Lu Ming's puzzlement, Huang Ling explained, the 9 Saintesses of Jade Lake were just ordinary Saintesses. The Saintess of Inheritance of Jade Lake is above the ordinary Saintesses in terms of status, talent, and beauty. She has the potential to take over Jade Lake in the future. However, the Saintess of Inheritance of Jade Lake is extremely rare. The selection criteria are very strict. Jade Lake has not had a Saintess of Inheritance for thousands of years. This time, many talents are invited. I'm afraid that many talents from the ancient moon, sacred ground, will be there. It will be very lively. In that case, we can gather. When? Lu Ming asked. Tomorrow. I'll look for you tomorrow. Let's go together. Huang Ling said. Lu Ming nodded. A day passed in the blink of an eye. The next day, Huang Ling and Mu Qingxue came to find Lu Ming. Lu Ming took Bubbles and went to Jade Lake together. It was the same lake as last time. Above the lake, there were many palaces. The Jade Lake Celestial Palace appeared. In front of the Celestial Palace, someone welcomed them. They entered the Jade Lake Celestial Palace and came to a quiet and beautiful place. This area was very wide. At this time, the 2 sides of the area were filled with tables. Many people had already arrived. They were all young geniuses from various powerful forces. There were both men and women. Some young and beautiful women walked between the tables and poured tea for the geniuses. The area was filled with the fragrance of tea. At the top of the area, there were 9 jade tables. The 9 Saintesses of Jade Lake sat at the 9 jade tables. Behind the 9 Saintesses, there was a pavilion floating in the air. There was a flight of stairs extending to the bottom. In the pavilion, there was also a jade table, but there was no one there. Chapter 1787. Long Chen. When Lu Ming and the rest arrived, they saw Long Chen sitting at a table. They walked over and sat down at Long Chen's table. You're here. Long Chen nodded and poured tea for Lu Ming and the rest. Lu Ming looked around and realized that Long Chen's aura was extremely powerful. Apparently, Long Chen had also broken through and entered the Supreme Saint realm. They chatted and drank tea. Outside, people kept arriving. Before long, there were hundreds of people in the area. They were all young geniuses. Almost all the geniuses from the ancient moon, sacred ground, had been invited. Hee, Lu Ming, you finally stopped being a coward and came out. At that moment, a sneer resounded throughout the area. Lu Ming looked in the direction of the voice and saw a few young people looking at him coldly. The geniuses of the Wan clan. Among them were Wan Tianbing, Wan Tianlong, and another person with a noble aura. Lu Ming did not recognize him. He was obviously another genius from the Wan clan. The one who had spoken was Wan Tianbing. At the scene, many geniuses looked at Lu Ming and then at the geniuses from the Wan clan with anticipation. It seemed that Lu Ming was going to clash with the Wan clan again. Wan Tianbing, what's wrong? Did you not enjoy the last battle? Lu Ming said disdainfully. Wan Tianbing's face darkened. He snorted and said, I was careless the last time. You don't have to be so smug. Careless? What a joke. If it weren't for your shameless interference, you would have been dead. Lu Ming sneered in disdain. Bam! At that moment, a young man beside Wan Tianbing slammed the table. He looked at Lu Ming coldly and scolded. How dare you insult the seniors of the Wan clan? You deserve to die. Lu Ming looked at him and said indifferently, Who do you think you are? I said that the old men of the Wan clan are old dogs. Was I wrong? When you beat up the younger ones, the older ones stepped in. Everyone saw it. You still dare to spout nonsense? I'll kill you today. That person shouted coldly and suddenly stood up. A powerful aura pressed down on Lu Ming. Great Sage Realm. There was no doubt that this person was a supreme saint, much stronger than Wan Tianbing. Boom! Long Chen and Huang Ling, who were next to Lu Ming, exploded with powerful auras at the same time, causing that person's expression to change greatly. He was not the only one. The other people's expressions changed drastically. They looked at Huang Ling and Long Chen in disbelief. Great saints, Huang Ling and Long Chen, have also broken through to the Great Saint Realm. How is that possible? A few months ago, they were still far from the Great Sage Realm. How did they break through to the Great Sage Realm so quickly? Incredible. Many people cried out in surprise, finding it hard to believe. This was especially true for some of the geniuses who had competed with Huang Ling and Long Chen in the past. Huang Kong, Huang Bing, and the others from Phoenix Palace stared at Huang Ling with their mouths agape. In the end, they sighed. They knew that they had been far surpassed by Huang Ling. In addition to Huang Ling's terrifying talent, it would be difficult for them to surpass Huang Ling in this lifetime. The genius from Wan clan was called Wan Pingyang. He was one of the strongest geniuses in Wan clan. He had just returned from Celestial City not long ago. At this moment, his expression changed. He had not expected Long Chen and Huang Ling to be so powerful. Wan Pingyang rolled his eyes and sneered. Lu Ming, you're really a coward. When I went to Phoenix Palace to challenge you, you hid and refused to fight. Now, you're hiding behind others. Hee. The path of martial arts depends on hiding. This is the first time I've seen it. You, a supreme saint, want to fight me, a bright sage. You think it's glorious. Is this your confidence and pride? Lu Ming replied coldly. Haha, ridiculous. Cultivation realm is also a kind of talent. No matter how strong your combat strength is, you'll be stuck in a realm forever. You'll be a piece of trash. What's the use? I can suppress you with a flip of my hand. Wan Pingyang laughed and sneered. Are you really that confident? You think you can suppress me? If a supreme saint like you is suppressed by a bright sage, I wonder if the seniors of Wan clan will come and find trouble with me again? Lu Ming said indifferently. Suppressed by you? That's ridiculous. Do you think it's possible? Come out and fight me. Wan Pingyang shouted. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled up slightly. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and he was about to stand up. At this moment, a clear voice sounded. Everyone, we're here to taste tea today. Let's get to know each other. There's no need to fight. The Saintess of Heritage is coming. At this moment, a Saintess of Jade Lake spoke. Lu Ming, you're lucky. I'll give the Saintess of Jade Lake some face today. However, your luck won't last forever. Wan Pingyang said coldly. Luck? The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled up slightly. Who's the lucky one? They're here. At this moment, someone spoke up. Everyone's gaze turned towards the pavilion. A woman stepped out from the depths of Jade Lake Divine Palace. She was wearing a light gauze, revealing her white thighs. She was not wearing shoes. Her feet and legs were like the most beautiful works of art in the world. They were well proportioned and beautiful. One look at them, and they would not want to look away. With every step she took, a cloud would appear in the sky and hold her body. Everyone's gazes shifted upwards, moving past the peak of the turbulent waves. It was a peerless face that could topple cities. The 9 saintesses of Jade Lake were already peerless beauties. However, compared to this woman, they were overshadowed. This woman was like a fairy who had walked out of a painting. She was the legendary goddess. So beautiful! Someone muttered to himself. He was already stunned. Lu Ming was also stunned. Not only him, but Huang Ling and Long Chen were also stunned. It was not because she was too beautiful, but because they knew this woman. Luo Tianyi. Lu Ming mumbled to himself. He had never expected that the sacred lady of inheritance of the Jade Pool would be Luo Tianyi, one of the 7 people who had reached the end of the Hunyuan sex assessment. She was one of the silver inheritors. I didn't expect that Jade Lake's saintess of inheritance would be her. Huang Ling muttered to herself. Indeed, I didn't expect this. Brother Lu Ming is really perverted. He's in a daze when he sees a beauty. Bubbles muttered at the side. Ahem. Lu Ming coughed awkwardly. His face was slightly red. He picked up a cup of tea and took a sip. He glanced at Bubbles and said, "What does a little kid know?" "Of course I know. You think I can't see through your perverted eyes?" Brother Longchin and sister Huang Ling too. Bubbles pouted and a trace of disdain flashed in her eyes. This made Longchin and Huang Ling a little embarrassed. "Little girl, you're talking nonsense. I'm a woman. How can I be perverted?" Huang Ling rolled her eyes at Bubbles. "Can't a woman be perverted?" Bubbles muttered. By then, Luo Tianyi had already landed in the pavilion. She held up a cup of tea and said, "I am Luo Tianyi. Thank you all for gracing me with your presence. There is no wine today, only tea. I would like to propose a toast to all of you." Chapter 1788. To be honest, Luo Tianyi was indeed extremely beautiful. Her looks were comparable to Huang Ling and Xian Yinqing. However, she had an additional aura, a seductive aura. Every frown, every smile, and every move she made seemed to be extremely charming and seductive. Most of the young men at the scene were tempted. They stared at Luo Tianyi passionately. Wan Pingyong was the same. His eyes were burning with passion as they fell on Luo Tianyi. He could not take his eyes off her. "You flatter me. It's an honor to meet the Saintess Tianyi today. The Saintess is as beautiful as a goddess. It's my honor to meet you today." Some self-proclaimed handsome geniuses immediately spoke up, trying to get Luo Tianyi's attention. Every time the Saintess of Jade Lake was born, they would choose a protector to grow up with her. A protector, in layman's terms, was a cultivation partner or husband. This was the case for ordinary saintesses, and even more so for the Saintess of Heritage. If one could become the protector of Jade Lake's Saintess of Heritage, not only would he have a rare beauty, but he would also be able to enjoy the vast resources of Jade Lake. Who would not want to? Luo Tianyi smiled and waved her hand. "Thank you for coming. Please take a seat." Everyone took their seats, except for one person. It was a burly young man in a purple robe. The most eye-catching thing about him was his purple hair, which flowed freely in the wind. He looked wild and arrogant. He stared at Luo Tianyi passionately and said, "Saintess, you must be lonely sitting alone in the pavilion. Why don't you let me accompany you?" After he finished speaking, he soared into the air and stepped forward, intending to enter the pavilion. "It's Su Tuo from Sky Wolf Pagoda." Someone spoke out, recognizing this youth. He was an extremely powerful heavenly genius. Su Tuo stepped forward and quickly approached the pavilion. The 9 ordinary saintesses of Jade Lake looked upset. This man's behavior was an insult to Jade Lake's Saintess of Heritage. "Brother, you've gone too far. Saintess Tianyi did not invite you." An ordinary saintess rose into the air and blocked Su Tuo. "Can't I go up if she didn't invite me? Isn't Jade Lake Saintess here to find a man? Do you think I'm not qualified enough? Sutua said. His purple hair flew in the wind, and he stared at Luo Tianyi with a fiery gaze. Watch your words. The expression of the Jade Lake's ordinary saintess became even more unsightly. Su Tuo's words were a blatant insult. What are you pretending for? Women are born to be enjoyed by men. Otherwise, what's the point of being born in this world? Get out of my way. Su Ta's aura surged as he shouted like a heavenly wolf howling at the moon. The ordinary saintesses turned pale and staggered backward. Su Tua was obviously in the great saint realm and was extremely powerful. He was one of the top geniuses of the ancient Moon Holy Land and came from the powerful Sky Wolf Tower. Bang! Bang! With a loud shout, he forced back several ordinary saintesses. Su Tua became even more arrogant. He stepped forward, causing the void to rumble. The members of Skywolf Pagoda are truly domineering. Someone said, Celestial Wolf Pagoda is filled with celestial wolves. They act insolently and are extremely protective of their own. They're a bunch of lunatics. Let's lower our voices. Another person spoke. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this time, several other holy maidens stood in front of Su Tua. Get out of my way! Many of them shouted again. Their purple hair danced in the wind as if they were about to turn into purple wolves and pounce on Su Tua. Let him come over, Luo Tianyi said. Her face was calm as she sat on a jade stool. She picked up a cup of tea and sipped it casually. Yes. The saintesses nodded and made way for him. Ha ha ha, Holy Maiden Tianyi. How about I be your protector? We can do it tonight. Su Tua laughed and landed on the edge of the pavilion. It's not impossible to become Tianyi's protector. Let's see if you have the ability to do so. Luo Tianyi smiled seductively. At this time, her eyes turned pitch black and a mysterious wave of energy emanated from her body. At this time, Su Tuo's body froze. The next moment, he shouted, "Who's there?" Then he turned around abruptly and threw a punch behind him. A terrifying fist energy rushed into the vast void. Everyone looked at each other. There was no one behind Su Tua. Why did he attack? However, what happened next was even more shocking. Su Tua roared and continued to throw punches. His face was ferocious, as if he was fighting fiercely with someone. After throwing hundreds of punches, Su Tua roared and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale. Illusion. Su Tua is under an illusion. Someone exclaimed. It was obvious that Su Tua was under an illusion. Otherwise, he would not be in such a state. However, with Su Tuo's cultivation, it was shocking that he was unknowingly under an illusion. At this time, Su Tua came to his senses and looked at Luo Tianyi with an ugly expression. You can't even sit on this seat. It seems that you are not qualified to be Tianyi's protector. Luo Tianyi said with a smile on her face, Su Tua, you'd better come down. With your cultivation, you are not qualified at all. Someone said disdainfully, many of the prodigies who came today were on par with Su Tua in terms of cultivation. They were not afraid of him. Su Tuo's face turned even uglier. He snorted coldly and turned to leave the Jade Lake Divine Palace. He was too ashamed to stay. He was overbearing and said that he wanted Luo Tianyi to be his woman. Now he was injured before Luo Tianyi even made a move. Clearly, he was too inferior to Luo Tianyi. Whoever wants to sit and have a drink with Tianyi, come up. If you can step into the pavilion from this jade staircase, Tianyi will drink with you today. Luo Tianyi said with a smile. Many people were tempted by her words. As the saying goes, the pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first. If they could sit and drink tea with Luo Tianyi and get closer to her, they might have a chance to win her heart in the future. Many powerful prodigies' eyes lit up. I'll do it. In the crowd, a golden light flashed, and an arrogant young man wearing a golden robe flew up the jade ladder. After that, he walked towards the pavilion. It's the 5th prince of the Golden Crow clan. Someone recognized him. The Golden Crow clan. A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. Legend had it that the Golden Crow clan was extremely powerful. Among the younger generation, there were 10 princes, each stronger than the other. They were all terrifying existences. The 5th prince of the Golden Crow clan was also very famous. He had reached the Supreme Saint realm a few years ago. The 5th prince of the Golden Crow clan looked solemn. His body was enveloped in the divine fire of the sun. He walked up step by step. However, halfway up, he suddenly stopped and began to tremble. Break! Finally, he closed his eyes and roared. Boom! Chapter 1789. The Golden Crow 5th Prince vomited blood and retreated, shocking many people. The Saintess of Jade Lake's inheritance, Luo Tianyi, was so terrifying. She sat in the pavilion and didn't move, but she made the Golden Crow 5th Prince vomit blood and retreat. Could it be the legendary law of illusion? It's possible. Otherwise, how could it have such power? The law of illusion is the law of kings, second only to the 10 supreme laws. Luo Tianyi has a regal body. Another one with a regal body has appeared. Now, it's really entering an era of regal bodies. Not only regal bodies, but also sons of heaven. In Celestial City, several sons of heaven have appeared. Isn't Lu Ming the son of chaos? There was a burst of discussion all around. It should be the law of illusion, one of the law of kings. Lu Ming whispered. Below the 10 supreme laws, there were some laws that were extremely terrifying and powerful. They were not much weaker than the 10 supreme laws. These laws were called the law of kings. This king was not the king of martial kings, but the king of laws, the king of thousands of laws. Those who controlled the law of kings were called regal bodies. As for those who controlled the 10 strongest laws, they were known as Elysian children. For example, Luo Xiang controlled the law of speed, which was a law of kings. There was also Long Chen's law of strength, which was the pinnacle of strength. It was also a law of kings. Huang Ling's law of immortal fire was also a law of kings. Now, there was another one, the law of illusion. The law of illusion could make people fall into an illusion unknowingly. When attacked in the illusion, the body would be injured. It was extremely mysterious. Lu Ming had also practiced illusion, but compared to the law of illusion, it was much weaker. Luo Tianyi's soul power is definitely very strong. Lu Ming speculated. Who else wants to come up? Luo Tianyi's voice sounded again. Let me. At this time, Wan Pingyang got up and landed on the jade ladder. He wanted to climb up the pavilion, but the result was the same as the Golden Crow 5th Prince. He vomited blood and retreated, returning to his seat with a gloomy face. Then a few more geniuses went up. Some of them had a very high cultivation, but it was useless. The result was the same. They vomited blood and retreated. Luo Tianyi's cultivation was unfathomable and unpredictable. Is anyone else coming? Luo Tianyi smiled and looked around. When she saw Lu Ming, she nodded slightly at Lu Ming. Big brother Lu Ming, that big sister seems to be interested in you. She's hinting at you. Hurry up and go. At the side, Bubbles mumbled. You have sharp eyes. Lu Ming stroked Bubbles' little head, and Bubble immediately revealed an expression of enjoyment. However, it's not bad to go up and have a drink. Lu Ming smiled and stood up. He took a step forward and landed on the jade stairs. Everyone's eyes instantly fell on Lu Ming. You're overestimating yourself. Even the other great sage geniuses couldn't step on it. You, a mere bright sage, want to step on it? Wan Tianbing seized the opportunity to mock him. You're right. Let's see how he embarrasses himself later. Wan Pingyang continued. The others also shook their heads. Lu Ming, a bright sage, would not be able to step on it. He would probably be thrown down in a few minutes. Lu Ming glanced at Wan Pingyang and Wan Tianbing indifferently and said disdainfully, You're a good-for-nothing. Do you think everyone is like you? Who are you calling a good-for-nothing? Wan Pingyang's eyes flashed coldly. Whoever answers will be the winner. Lu Ming said, Humph. You're just trying to win with words. Let's see how you're going to step on it. Wan Pingyang's face was gloomy. Then open your eyes wide and watch. Lu Ming smiled and stepped on the stairs. Lu Ming moved forward step by step at a uniform speed. Soon, he was halfway up the jade stairs. However, he did not slow down and continued to move forward at the same speed. Many people's faces changed. Wan Pingyang's face also changed. Lu Ming continued to move forward. Soon, he was close to the pavilion. Still, nothing happened. How can this be? Luo Tianyi didn't even make a move. Did Luo Tianyi deliberately let him go up? Impossible. Someone shouted, finding it hard to accept. She deliberately let Lu Ming go up. What did this mean? Could it be that Luo Tianyi was interested in Lu Ming? However, Luo Tianyi had thrown so many stronger geniuses down. How could Luo Tianyi be interested in Lu Ming? However, the truth was in front of them. Lu Ming moved forward step by step. Every step seemed to be stepping on the hearts of those geniuses. Huang Ling and Long Qin smiled faintly. If Lu Ming wanted to go up, why would Luo Tianyi stop him? Bam! Finally, Lu Ming stepped on the pavilion. Many people's hearts skipped a beat. Young Master Lu, please take a seat. A bright smile appeared on Luo Tianyi's face. Her crisp voice stunned many people. A beauty's invitation. Isn't it wonderful? Lu Ming smiled. He chose a stool next to Luo Tian and sat down. His body was almost leaning against Luo Tian. Then Luo Tianyi poured Lu Ming a cup of tea. Lu Ming picked it up, took a deep breath, and praised, "It smells so good." No one knew if he was talking about the tea or the person. However, below the stage, the young genius's eyes were red with envy. "Lu Ming, what right do you have to sit up there? Get down!" Wan Pingyang roared. He was so envious that he wished he was the one sitting on the stage. He could not understand why Luo Tianyi did not attack Lu Ming. Could it be that she was interested in Lu Ming? At the thought of this, he was mad with hatred and jealousy. "Whether I am qualified or not is not up to you to decide." Lu Ming glanced at Wan Pingyang casually, then looked at Luo Tianyi and said, "You are so beautiful." Even Lu Ming's heart can't help but beat faster. After saying this, Lu Ming slowly leaned toward Luo Tian. "Young master, you flatter me." Luo Tianyi was still smiling, as if she was not angry at all. Lu Ming smiled. Then, under the angry gazes of the crowd, he picked up Luo Tianyi's cup and drank the tea in one gulp. "The tea that the goddess drank is so fragrant." "Haha!" Lu Ming laughed. This was very flirtatious. It was the same as flirting with Luo Tianyi in front of everyone. Many people thought that Luo Tianyi would lose her temper, but the result surprised them. Luo Tianyi was still smiling, as if she did not mind at all. She said, "If you don't mind, you can come and have tea with Tianyi more often in the future." Oh my God! Many people were screaming in their hearts. What was going on? Did Luo Tianyi really like Lu Ming? Or did Lu Ming and Luo Tianyi already have an affair? At the thought of these two possibilities, many people were very upset. Some people were screaming in their hearts, "Why can't it be me?" Even the other 9 saintesses of Jade Lake were a little stunned. Based on their understanding of Luo Tianyi, if anyone dared to do this to Luo Tianyi, they would be crippled immediately. There was no other outcome. Chapter 1790. Lu Ming, how dare you flirt with Saintess Tianyi? You're courting death. I'm going to cripple you. Wan Pingyang roared. The Golden Crow Fifth Prince and the others looked at him coldly. "Shut up. Saintess Tianyi hasn't said anything yet, and you've already jumped out. Don't you think it's embarrassing?" Lu Ming scolded. Wan Pingyang looked at Luo Tianyi and found that she didn't react at all. He then looked at Lu Ming, and his face turned red. Yes, Luo Tianyi didn't say anything, which meant that she admitted it. It was really embarrassing for him to jump out like this. "Lu Ming, get down here. Who do you think you are? You're just a bright sage from Tsangzhou. You're not even an emperor-level force. What right do you have to sit next to Saintess Luo Tianyi?" Tian Pingyang shouted. Oh, you're of noble birth, born in a big power. But you're born in a big power, yet you only have this little bit of cultivation. You're really a piece of trash. Aren't you ashamed? Lu Ming retorted. What did you say? Lu Ming, you coward. I want to challenge you. Do you dare to accept? I'd like to see who's the real trash. Wan Pingyang roared. He wanted to chop Lu Ming into pieces. Today he wanted to humiliate Lu Ming harshly to wash away his shame. Okay, I'll give you this chance, Lu Ming said coldly. He then looked at Luo Tianyi and said, Saintess Tianyi, can we fight here? Of course. Since you're so interested, Tianyi will open up the battle platform and let you have a good fight. Luo Tianyi smiled and nodded to the other 9 saintesses. The 9 holy maidens accepted the order and arrived at a spacious area. With a wave of their hands, the ground glowed and a battle stage appeared. In the Jade Lake, there are many fighting stages built in many places for disciples to learn from each other. You can go up and fight, Luo Tianyi said. No one was surprised. In fact, many powerful forces had built such battle platforms. They were usually hidden by arrays. If there was a battle, they could be opened at any time. It was very convenient. If you want to fight, I'll accompany you. Lu Ming stood up and said, Saintess Tianyi, pour me a cup of tea. I'll be back soon to accompany you. After saying that, he took a step forward and landed on the battle stage. This made Wan Pingyang grit his teeth. Lu Ming was too arrogant. Did he mean that he could defeat him before the tea turned cold? What a joke! His cultivation base is at the Great Sage realm. Moreover, he was not an ordinary Great Sage. He was a peerless genius with powerful combat strength. Even if Lu Ming could fight an ordinary Great Sage, he could not possibly be a match for him. There's no need for you to deal with a mere Lu Ming. I'll suppress him. Wan Tianbing stood up and stared at Lu Ming with sharp eyes. Wan Pingyang's gaze shifted as he said, All right, I'll leave it to you then. If Wan Tianning could defeat Lu Ming and humiliate Lu Ming even more, why wouldn't he do it? Wan Tianbing stepped forward and came to the battle stage. Last time, you lost miserably even when you teamed up with others. If it weren't for the old dog of the Wan family, you would have been dead. You still dare to fight? Lu Ming said disdainfully, I've said it. Last time I was careless. This time I'll kill you. Wan Tianbing shouted coldly. His body began to emit light as sacred weapons flew out and floated around him. Among them, there was a spot of light that was particularly bright. A battle sword flew out from it, and a terrifying sword chi soared into the sky. It's a sacred weapon, someone exclaimed. The corner of Lu Ming's mouth curled up slightly. It turned out that Wan Tianbing had sealed another sacred weapon, and it was more stable than the last time. No wonder he dared to fight with Lu Ming. Last time, Lu Ming was almost defeated by his sacred weapon. Kill! The battle sword chi gathered, and the sword chi soared into the sky. Wan Tianbing held the battle sword and slashed at Lu Ming. Its power was shocking. Those below the supreme Saint realm were shocked. The Wan family's art of 10,000 weapons was indeed amazing. As long as one's physical body and cultivation were strong enough, one could continuously seal powerful sacred weapons. Ordinary supreme saints wouldn't dare to face this move head-on. But Lu Ming was no ordinary person. I'll take this sacred weapon, Lu Ming whispered. In the next moment, he rushed toward Wan Tianbing and slashed at him with his palm like a knife. Lu Ming attacked Wan Tianbing's sacred weapon with his bare hands, but the result was out of everyone's expectations. Clang! Lu Ming's palm hit the battle sword. The battle sword vibrated violently, and a terrifying force rushed toward Wan Tianbing. In an instant, Wan Tianbing's expression changed. His eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. He could feel a terrifying power coming from the sword. It was endless. Buzz! The battle sword vibrated, and his palm exploded. The battle sword flew out of his hand, and his body was thrown far away like a kite with a broken string. He landed on the fighting ring and spat out mouthfuls of blood. His face was as pale as paper. Lu Ming waved his hand, and his sacred power rolled up and took Wan Tianbing's sacred weapon. Many people gasped a breath of cold air and looked at Lu Ming in horror. Wan Tianbing was defeated in one move. He couldn't even withstand a single blow. Many people still remembered that a few months ago, Lu Ming had fought with Wan Tianbing and the 6th Golden Crow Prince at Lake Phoenix. In that battle, Lu Ming defeated Wan Tianbing and the 6th Golden Crow Prince with great difficulty. He was even forced into a disadvantageous position after Wan Tianbing took out his sacred weapon. But now, Lu Ming had defeated Wan Tianbing with one move, and he spat out mouthfuls of blood and flew out of the fighting ring. He even took Wan Tianbing's sacred weapon. In just a few months, Lu Ming's combat strength had become so terrifying. "Hand over your sacred weapon." Wan Pingyang stood up and stepped onto the fighting ring. His eyes were gloomy. "Ridiculous. That's my trophy. Do you have any sacred weapons? Take them out. They'll be my trophy later too." Lu Ming said, "You want my sacred weapon? I'm afraid you won't be able to take it. Kill." Wan Pingyang roared. His body emitted dazzling light spots. Sacred weapons flew out, and the chi of sacred weapons soared into the sky. There were 150 sacred weapons, 12 great sacred weapons, and one sacred weapon. The sacred weapon was a long spear. Wan Pingyang held the long spear, and his aura was even more terrifying. Whoosh! The long spear pierced through the air and stabbed toward Lu Ming. Wan Pingyang was a lesser saint of the Supreme Saint realm. The power of the sealed ultimate saint weapon was even more terrifying than Wan Tianbing's. His combat strength was several times stronger than Wan Tianbing's. Bam! Lu Ming stepped forward and rushed toward Wan Pingyang like lightning. His palm was like a knife and he attacked. Clang! Lu Ming's palm collided with Wan Pingyang's long spear, and there was an earth-shattering explosion. Both of their bodies shook slightly and then they fought again. A great saint was much more powerful than a sacred weapon. Wan Pingyang's spiritual body was also a middle-level heaven spiritual body. His combat strength was extremely terrifying, far surpassing that of a lesser great saint. Dong! Dong! Chapter 1791. Everyone present was shocked. Lu Ming's combat strength was beyond their imagination. How can he be so strong? A few months ago, Lu Ming was far from this combat strength. His cultivation has improved and reached the great circle of the bright saint realm. How can it be so fast? He was only in the great circle of the bright saint realm a few months ago. Huang Ling and Long Chen's cultivation has also improved a lot. I heard that a few months ago, the geniuses who obtained the Hunyuan token entered the Hunyuan sect to participate in the assessment. Perhaps Lu Ming, Huang Ling, and Long Chen have all obtained the Hunyuan token. The Hunyuan sect's assessment has great opportunities. Perhaps it's true. The crowd discussed, and soon, someone had a rough idea. After all, the Hunyuan sect's assessment was no secret. Every few decades, a group of geniuses would enter and participate in the assessment. It was easy to make the connection. However, Lu Ming's combat strength was still amazing. A bright saint could fight a great saint, and his opponent was also a peerless genius. Dong! Dong! Lu Ming collided with his opponent a few more times and then retreated quickly. "You're defeated," Wan Pingyang roared. "You're thinking too much." "Seal," Lu Ming whispered. Then the long spear in Wan Pingyang's hand suddenly appeared densely packed runes, and along the long spear, they quickly spread towards Wan Pingyang's body, forming a terrifying sealing force to seal Wan Pingyang. "Damn it, what is this?" Wan Pingyang bellowed furiously. He unleashed all his strength and wanted to break the seal. However, Lu Ming had exchanged so many blows with him earlier. He had set up a terrifying seal. How could he break it in one go? Lu Ming took a step forward and his body moved like lightning. In an instant, he was in front of Wan Pingyang. He threw a punch at Wan Pingyang's body. Wan Pingyang screamed miserably, and his body flew far away. There were sounds of cracking and cracking sounds coming from his body. Devour! Lu Ming unleashed his devouring power and shrouded all of Wan Pingyang's saint weapons, preventing Wan Pingyang from taking them back. He then used his saint force to cut off the connection and kept all of the saint weapons. My saint weapons! Wan Pingyang roared. He was so angry that he spat out a few more mouthfuls of blood. 150 bright saint weapons, 12 great saint weapons, and 1 absolute saint weapon. All of them were in Lu Ming's hands. His heart was bleeding. There was a flaw in the Wan clan's cultivation method, and that was that it required a lot of money. It was too expensive to seal so many saint weapons. This was his many years of hard work. Now it was all gone. Lu Ming had taken it. I said, "This is my spoils of war." Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared beside Wan Pingyang. He looked down at him and said coldly, "So what if you have a high cultivation level?" "You!" Wan Pingyang almost spat out blood again. His eyes were full of murderous intent. He glared at Lu Ming and said, "Lu Ming, my Wan clan will not let you go. You better return all of my saint weapons. You can't take them all." "Ha ha ha, what a joke. You're a piece of trash. You're not even a match for a bright saint with your great saint cultivation. Now, you're threatening me with the forces behind you. Is this the style of your Wan clan? Is this where your arrogance lies? A piece of trash like you would be a complete piece of trash if you weren't born in a big force. I can kill a lot of you with one slap. Get lost." Lu Ming laughed. He kicked Wan Pingyang's head and kicked him off the fighting ring. "Lu Ming, just you wait." On the other side, Wan Tianlong rushed over and helped Wan Pingyang up. They flew into the sky and left the place. Wan Tianbing did the same. He was too ashamed to stay. "Who else wants to fight me?" Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning as he scanned the entire place, especially the Golden Crow tribe. The Golden Crow 5th Prince and the Golden Crow 6th Prince had ugly expressions. However, Lu Ming's combat power was unfathomable. He did not seem to have used his full strength when he fought with Wan Pingyang just now. At the very least, he did not see Lu Ming unleash the divine power of the law of chaos. Although the Golden Crow 5th Prince was arrogant, he was not confident in fighting with Lu Ming. He might even be humiliated. There were stronger Sky Prides present. However, they didn't have any grudges against Lu Ming. They didn't want to offend a Sky Pride with limitless potential like Lu Ming. Therefore, no one went up to fight. Since no one wants to fight, let's continue drinking tea. Lu Ming smiled and stepped out. He returned to the pavilion and picked up the teacup. It seems that it's not too late. The tea is still hot. Then he drained the cup in one gulp. Although Lu Ming had fought 2 battles in a row, he was very fast and didn't waste much time. "If young Master Lu likes it, you can come to the Jade Pool more often. There's plenty of tea." Luo Tianyi smiled. "How can I not come when a beauty invites me?" Lu Ming said. The others could only sigh. They were sure that Luo Tianyi had taken a fancy to Lu Ming. Below, Huang Ling's face flashed with an unnatural expression. "Sister Huang Ling is jealous," Bubbles muttered. "You, little girl, you're talking nonsense." Huang Ling's face flushed red. She picked up Bubbles' chubby body and rubbed it hard. Lu Ming had a good time drinking tea at the tea party. However, for the rest, it was as if they were drinking plain water. Not long after, someone found an excuse to leave. With someone taking the lead, more people left one after another. Soon, only Lu Ming and a few others were left. "Saintess Tianyi, I'll visit you another day. Goodbye." Lu Ming cupped his fists. "Young master, come to the Jade Pool more often." Luo Tianyi smiled and transmitted her voice to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded and then left the Jade Pool with Long Chen, Huang Ling, and the others. Back at the Phoenix Palace, Lu Ming continued to cultivate in seclusion. In the mountain river diagram, Lu Ming took out a combat sword and planned to seal it. This combat sword was the absolute holy weapon that he had taken from Wan Tianbing. Lu Ming now had a total of 3 absolute holy weapons: a battle axe, a combat sword, and a long spear. 2 of them were taken from Wan Tianbing and 1 from Wan Pingyang. Besides the long spear, Lu Ming was more comfortable with the combat sword. He planned to seal this combat sword first. When Wan Tianbing was in the Great Sage Realm, he needed the help of a martial emperor to seal the absolute holy weapon. However, Lu Ming's spiritual body was stronger. He was confident that he could seal it successfully without the help of a martial emperor. Immediately, Lu Ming activated the 10,000 weapon art and began to seal the absolute holy weapon. An aperture on his arm lit up. The absolute holy weapon flew into the aperture. Suddenly, a terrible tearing force burst out. The absolute holy weapon was too powerful. Lu Ming's arm swelled and almost exploded. Waves of tearing pain spread throughout his body. "Hold on." Lu Ming growled and activated the 10,000 weapon art with all his might. He endured the pain. Gradually, the absolute holy weapon's chi of the absolute holy weapon calmed down. Lu Ming's arm gradually returned to its original state. After a few hours, Lu Ming finished cultivating. He had finally succeeded. Lu Ming let out a long breath. Sealing the absolute holy weapon was too dangerous. If he was not careful, his aperture would burst and his body would explode. However, once the seal was successful, the power of the 10,000 weapon art would skyrocket. Chapter 1792. I should be able to seal a few more great sage weapons. Lu Ming pondered. It was impossible to continue sealing more great sage weapons. His body could not withstand it. He had to at least break through to the great sage realm or evolve his spirit body again. However, it should be possible to seal a few more great sage weapons. This way, his strength could also increase a little. Following that, Lu Ming sealed another 6 great sage weapons. The number of great sage weapons he sealed increased to 12, which was the same as Wan Pingyang. After cultivating the 10,000 weapon art, Lu Ming continued to comprehend the chaotic calamity finger and the sealing scroll. Time flew, and another 2 months passed in a flash. Lu Ming's cultivation entered a period of steady improvement, slowly approaching the Great Sage Realm. During this period, the ancient moon Holy Land entered a period of stability. Many of the sky prides of Celestial City had returned, but they were actively preparing for war, cultivating diligently, waiting for the opening of the Holy Court of Yuan Mountain. Several great emperors had established the Holy Court of Yuan Mountain. At that time, all the sky prides of Yuan Mountain would definitely gather in Celestial City. Celestial City would become a place for sky prides to compete for supremacy. If one's cultivation was not enough, they would only become a stepping stone for others. Therefore, each and every one of them was cultivating diligently. On this day, Huangling and Longqin came together to look for Lu Ming to go to the Myriad Spirit Trading City. The Myriad Spirit Trading City was very famous in the ancient Moon Holy Land. It was jointly established by several powerful forces, including the Wan clan. In the Myriad Spirit Trading City, there were many shops, all kinds of treasures and diluted items could be seen. After many years of development, it had become incomparably prosperous, becoming the 2 largest trading places in the ancient Moon Holy Land. Every day there was a sea of people. Lu Ming was naturally curious about such a place, so he readily agreed. He also wanted to take a look and see if he could buy some useful things. Also, he wanted to sell some of the useless things on him in exchange for origin stones. Lu Ming brought bubbles, and the group flew in the air. Soon, a huge city appeared in front of them. This city was very big, and people could be seen coming in and out of the city. There was an endless stream of people coming in and out of the city. The few of them landed at the city gate, which was guarded. If one wanted to enter the city, they had to pay a certain amount of ores. They paid the entrance fee and walked into the city. As soon as he entered the city, All he could see were shops of all kinds. There was no end in sight. Those factions that opened the trading city really made a lot of money. You have to pay a fee to enter the city, and you also have to pay a fee to rent out these shops. How many ores do they earn every year? Lu Ming sighed. No wonder the Wan clan was so wealthy. Every disciple had a large number of saint weapons to cultivate the 10,000 weapons art. The Wan clan had been developing for countless years and had many disciples. With so many people cultivating the 10,000 weapon art, the number of saint weapons required was a terrifying number. This wasn't a big deal, especially for those monarch-level experts who needed monarch weapons to cultivate. The price was even more terrifying. If one didn't have any income, they wouldn't be able to cultivate. The few of them wandered around the streets, looking for what they needed. Lu Ming also entered a few shops and exchanged all the useless things on him for high-grade origin stones. When one reached the Saint Realm, they mostly used high-grade origin stones for cultivation. On the other hand, Lu Ming only had a few Mingsheng weapons left. He had sold most of them in exchange for a lot of spirit liquid to water the Tree of Enlightenment. He had also bought some spirit herbs for bubbles. Suddenly, they saw many people gathering in a direction. They were curious and followed them. They found that many people had rushed into a large hall. "Brother, why are there so many people running here?" Lu Ming and the others stopped a young man and asked. "This palace is a place where slaves are sold. There are all kinds of slaves for sale, both human and demon. I just heard that they're selling a true dragon, a peerless beauty. That's very rare. Brother, I have to go, or it'll be too late," the young man said and hurried forward. "A true dragon? A beauty?" Lu Ming frowned slightly. "Let's go take a look too," Lu Ming said to Long Qin and Huang Ling. Then, the three of them walked toward the hall. The hall was very spacious, but it was already crowded with people. The three of them squeezed into the crowd and looked forward. At the front of the hall, there was a platform. This was the place where slaves were sold. At this moment, there was a beautiful woman sitting on the platform. She was wearing something that looked like a collar around her neck, wrists, and ankles. There were runes flashing on it. It was obvious that it could seal one's cultivation base. The woman looked haggard, and her aura was weak. Her snow-white dress was torn in many places, revealing wounds that seemed to be caused by whips. There were also large patches of snow-white skin. It was obvious that she had been tortured. Although she was injured and her aura was weak, it could not hide her beautiful figure and appearance. Boom! Seeing the woman, Lu Ming's mind buzzed, and his body emitted a cold and terrifying murderous intent. Senior sister, Lu Ming's murderous intent was extremely terrifying. It surged in all directions like a tide. The woman on the platform was Lu Ming's senior sister, Xuanixin. The people around felt chills all over and could not help but retreat. "Lu Ming, what's wrong with you?" On the side, Huang Ling was surprised. Why did Lu Ming suddenly burst out with such a terrifying, murderous intent? "The woman on the platform is my senior sister." Lu Ming growled, his eyes emitting a terrifying, murderous light. "Your senior sister?" Huang Ling and Long Chun were shocked. They understood why Lu Ming burst out with such a murderous intent. At that moment on the platform, two elders beside Xuanixin also noticed Lu Ming's abnormality. Their bodies burst out with a shocking aura. That was the aura of a supreme saint. Who dares to cause trouble in the 1,000 spirit exchange? Kill! One of the elders said coldly. Furthermore, in the surroundings of the palace, terrifying auras were faintly emitted. There were many powerful auras that caused people's hearts to tremble. This place was jointly built by the Wan clan, Skybird Palace, and Skywolf Pagoda. Naturally, they had sent many experts to guard it. "Lu Ming, don't be rash. The four forces have sent many experts here," Huang Ling said to Lu Ming through telepathy. Lu Ming nodded. He suppressed the murderous intent in his heart and withdrew the murderous intent in his body. On the platform, Xuanixin seemed to have felt Lu Ming's murderous intent. She raised her head and looked over. When she saw Lu Ming, her eyes flashed with surprise and hope, but then the light dimmed. She shook her head at Lu Ming. She wanted Lu Ming to leave and not save her. "Senior sister, don't worry. I will save you," Lu Ming said to Xuanixin through telepathy. His voice was resolute and unquestionable. Xuanixin continued to shake her head. The forces here were too powerful. They were many times stronger than the so-called top forces in Song Prefecture. She did not want Lu Ming to offend these powerful forces to save her. Chapter 1793. Silence. On the stage, an elder raised his hand and the crowd quieted down. "Allow me to introduce it to you. This is a snow dragon in the half-saint realm. It's very beautiful, which is rare even among true dragons. If you're interested, you can buy it and play with it. Now let's begin the auction. The highest bidder will get it. The starting price is 100,000 upper grade primordial stones." The elder's words made many people's eyes light up. True dragons are rare, and it's a snow dragon. Such a beautiful one is even rarer. It must be very exciting to buy it and play with it. Hee, I've never played with a true dragon before. I wonder what it's like. I'll take it. In your dreams. It's mine. Many people stared at Xuanixin passionately. Xuanixin's eyes were filled with despair, while Lu Ming's killing intent was even stronger. "I'll pay 150,000 upper grade primordial stones. I'll pay 160,000, 200,000. Everyone started to bid. The crowd was in high spirits, and the price kept rising. Soon, it reached 300,000. 300,000 upper-grade primordial stones to buy a half-saint true dragon was definitely a high price. One upper-grade primordial stone was equal to 10,000 mid-grade primordial stones. 300,000 upper-grade primordial stones were equal to 3 billion mid-grade primordial stones. 400,000. Lu Ming's voice was heard. He directly raised the price by 100,000 to 400,000. Many people shook their heads at the sudden increase of 100,000. This price was too high. It wasn't worth it to buy a half-saint true dragon. 450,000. Just then, a young man with a sinister look looked at Lu Ming and said, "Boy, you want to compete with me? Let's see how rich you are." 500,000. Without hesitation, Lu Ming called out 500,000 yuan. 550,000. The young man raised the price by another 50,000. At the side, the others sucked in a breath of cold air. 550,000. This price was already extremely shocking. At this point, most people gave up on bidding and shook their heads regretfully. 600,000. Lu Ming continued to raise the price. 650,000. The evil-looking young man raised the price again, but it was obvious that he was in pain. 650,000 was an extremely shocking price. This was a high-grade primordial stone, not a mid-grade one. "Huangling, Long Qin, lend me some ores later." Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Huangling and Long Qin. "No problem. Give me as much as you want." Huangling and Long Qin spoke. 1 million. This time, Lu Ming directly raised the price to 1 million. As long as he could save Xuanixin, he didn't care how many primordial stones he had to spend. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Gasps could be heard all around. Lu Ming had actually raised the price to 1 million. Who is this person? What great wealth! Just for a female true dragon, he's willing to spend 1 million high-grade origin stones. I recognize him. He is Lu Ming. I didn't expect him to be such a lecher. He has a beauty like Huangling by his side, yet he still spent a lot of money to buy this true dragon. His taste is extraordinary. Young people are full of energy. Everyone was discussing, and some elders even sighed. What nonsense are these people talking about? Huangling blushed. Not only were the others shocked, but when Lu Ming shouted 1 million, The evil young man's face also changed. He seemed to be struggling. In the end, he looked at Xuanixin passionately and shook his head. Apparently, he had given up on bidding. 1,000,000 high-grade origin stones was too high. 1,000,000. Is there anyone who offers a higher price? You have to know that this is a snow dragon. Even in the true dragon race, it is extremely rare. If you buy it, you will definitely have a different taste. Normally, if you wanted to buy it, you wouldn't be able to find it anywhere. On the high platform, an elder spoke, hoping to incite the crowd to continue bidding. However, although many people's eyes were burning, they still shook their heads. 1,000,000 high-grade origin stones was too high. 1,000,000. Is there anyone who wants to bid higher? The elder continued to shout. After that, the elder called out 3 times in a row, but no one said anything. All right, since no one wants to bid, this snow dragon belongs to, the elder was about to announce. But before he could finish, he was interrupted by another voice. Wait a minute. I'll bid 1,100,000. A voice was heard. It came from behind the high platform. There were some rooms behind the high platform. Then, a group of young men walked out from there. Wan Pingyang, Wan Tianbing. Lu Ming glanced around and emitted a cold light. There were more than 10 young men in the group. Lu Ming knew a few of them. They were Wan Pingyang, Wan Tianbing, and Wan Tianlong. In addition, Lu Ming knew Su Tua from Sky Wolf Pagoda and young master Taning from Skybird Palace. Lu Ming did not know the rest. The one who had bid was Wan Pingyang. Young masters, why are you here? On the high platform, the elder bowed to Wan Pingyang and the others. There is a rare snow dragon for auction here. We are also very interested, so we came to take a look. After Wan Pingyang finished speaking, he looked at Lu Ming with a cold light flashing in his eyes. Lu Ming, these young men are the geniuses who founded the Myriad Spirit Exchange. Huang Ling transmitted her voice to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded. His gaze was cold as he glanced at Wan Pingyang. 2 million. Haha, Lu Ming. I didn't expect you to be so interested in this snow dragon. However, I am also very interested in it. Wan Pingyang laughed and raised the price again. 5 million. Lu Ming did not even blink and raised the price by 200,000. 160. 2 million. In the end, Lu Ming raised the price to 2 million, which silenced the crowd. Wan Pingyang was slightly stunned and did not continue to raise the price. He glanced at Lu Ming and then at Xuanixin. He smiled and said, I understand. Lu Ming, you know this snow dragon, right? No wonder you raised the price so high. Lu Ming did not say anything and only looked at Wan Pingyang coldly. Wan Pingyang's lips curled into a cold smile. If that's the case, we won't sell this snow dragon. What did you say? Lu Ming stared at Wan Pingyang with a terrifying light in his eyes. Are you deaf? Let me tell you, we won't sell this snow dragon. The Myriad Spirit Exchange was founded by the 4 of us. I have the final say on whether we sell it or not. Wan Pingyang sneered and continued. A rare snow dragon, and it's so beautiful. To be honest, I haven't played with it before. Now, I'm going to keep it for myself. Brother Wan, you can't have it alone. Su Tua, who was standing at the side, said with a fiery light in his eyes. Ha ha ha, of course not. We're all brothers. Everyone has a share. Wan Pingyang laughed. Obviously, his words were for Lu Ming's ears. Lu Ming's killing intent was getting stronger. Seeing that Lu Ming was angry, Wan Pingyang, Wan Tianbing, and the rest were delighted. They felt the thrill of revenge. Chapter 1794. Haha, I've never seen such a beautiful snow dragon before. I wonder what's the difference between her skin and a human's. Wan Tianbing laughed. He stepped forward and appeared beside Xuanixin. He raised his hand and was about to touch her. Go away. Xuanixin roared and moved back. Slap. Wan Tianbing slapped Xuanixin's face and scolded. Bitch, how dare you treat me like this? Tonight, I'll make you beg for death. Then, Wan Tianbing looked at Lu Ming provocatively. Boom! At that moment, a terrifying aura exploded from Lu Ming's body. Cold, murderous intent spread out like a cold wave, causing the temperature in the hall to drop rapidly. Lu Ming was like a wild beast that could explode at any time. Lu Ming, what do you want? Do you want to fight? Wan Pingyang Su Tua, and the others also released their auras and stared at Lu Ming. At the same time, terrifying auras rose from all around the hall. They were looking forward to Lu Ming's attack so that they could take the opportunity to kill Lu Ming. Junior brother, no. Xuaningxin looked at Lu Ming and shook her head. So, you're Lu Ming's senior sister. Haha, I'll be more excited when I play with you. Wan Tianbing stared at Xuaningxin passionately. Wan Tianbing, you'll die miserably. I promise. Lu Ming said coldly. His murderous intent grew stronger. Huangling and Longqin also released powerful auras. How dare you threaten me? Believe it or not, I'll strip this bitch naked right now. Wan Tianbing stood next to Xuaningxin. He formed a blade of saint power and slashed it. A large part of Xuaningxin's clothes was torn apart. Bubbles, you save her. I'll kill her. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Bubbles. Don't worry. Leave it to me. Bubble nodded. Then she opened her mouth and blew at Xuaningxin. A strange ripple appeared in the air. On the high platform, Xuaningxin's body suddenly rippled like water. In the next moment, Xuaningxin disappeared. How dare you rob in the 1,000-spirit exchange? You're courting death. Wan Pingyang came to his senses and shouted, Today we're not only intercepting people, we're also going to kill them. Lu Ming roared. When he shouted the last word, kill, 2 terrifying sword gleams burst out from his eyes and rushed into Wan Tianbing's body. Wan Tianbing immediately let out a miserable shriek. He held his head with both hands, his face twisted in extreme pain. Lu Ming's forehead was glowing. That was because of his spiritual strength fluctuations. A terrifying energy was constantly pouring into Wan Tianbing's mind, attacking his soul. Lu Ming didn't tear Wan Tianbing's soul apart at once. That would be too easy for him. Lu Ming wanted to tear Wan Tianbing's soul apart slowly and make him suffer. The pain of the soul was 10 times, 100 times more intense than the pain of the physical body. Wan Tianbing screamed crazily and rolled on the ground. He held his head and hit the ground hard. You're courting death. Stop. An elder on the high platform yelled. You're all going to die. Lu Ming shouted. He took a step forward and dashed toward the fighting ring at lightning speed. His body glowed and sacred weapons appeared one after another. He held the absolute sacred weapon, the combat sword, in his hand. You're courting death. The old man roared and threw a punch at Lu Ming. This old man was a great sage, great mastery powerhouse. Whoosh! Lu Ming slashed out with his sword and collided with the elder's fist. The terrifying power made the elder's body tremble violently, and he retreated frantically. Dong! Lu Ming landed on the high platform and took a few steps forward. Dense runes spread out and crawled toward the 2 elders, covering their entire bodies in an instant. The sealing art could seal all living things. It directly sealed the cultivation of the 2 old men. Break! The 2 elders were shocked and frantically attacked. However, it was too late. Lu Ming rushed past them, and his sword slashed across the void. 2 heads flew up high, and the destructive sword chi had destroyed the souls of the 2 elders. The 2 experts in the great saint great completion were killed by Lu Ming in the blink of an eye. How dare you! Kill! Wan Pingyang Su Tua, and the others roared and attacked Lu Ming. Among these young men, 3 of them had reached the great saint realm. They were all terrifying sky prides with powerful combat strength. Now that they joined forces, their power was shocking. Boom! 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 At the same time, there was a burst of terrifying aura in the surroundings of the main hall. Then many figures dashed out in a frenzy and charged toward Lu Ming. "Attack!" Long Chin shouted and rushed out to the right. His body swelled up, especially his arms, which swelled several times. He threw out dozens of punches in a row. The space shook violently, and a terrifying fist force blasted toward those experts. These experts were almost all experts in the Great Saint Realm, and there were more than a dozen of them. However, Long Chin had broken through to the Great Saint Realm. With his spiritual body and force law, his combat strength was amazing. For a moment, he blocked more than a dozen experts. At the same time, Huang Ling rushed to the left. She was bathed in the undying flame. A huge phoenix was formed and rushed toward those experts. For a moment, they were blocked. However, there were more experts in front. There were more than a dozen of them, and they were all old men. Some of them had snow-white hair, and their aura was shocking. Among them, there were experts in the peak of the Great Saint Realm, and even complete Great Saint Realm. "Leave it to me, brother Lu Ming." Bubble flew out. Then she took a deep breath and exhaled. Beep, beep, beep. Bubble spat out transparent bubbles from her small mouth and flew out. Those old men were all covered by the transparent bubbles. What's going on?" An old man shouted in horror. His body, which was already extremely old, was aging rapidly. The white hair on his head began to fall off, and his skin began to become dry and wrinkled. Then the blood in their bodies began to weaken. "Time law, it's the time law. Time is passing quickly." An old man shouted and struggled frantically. After Bubble had broken through to the Great Saint Realm, her time law was even more terrifying. She could even accelerate the flow of time or reverse time. Hiss! Next, Bubble waved her small hand, and ripples appeared in space, forming a terrifying spatial blade that slashed out. Suddenly, the bodies of the old men were split apart, and they fell on the spot. At the same time, Lu Ming also attacked. He pointed out a finger, and the chaotic calamity finger burst out. A huge finger pointed at Wan Pingyang. In the past few months, Lu Ming's chaotic calamity finger had improved again. It had reached 53%. At this time it was fully unleashed, and its power was terrifying. The sacred weapons that enveloped Wan Pingyang's body were all sent flying. His body was directly blocked by the chaotic calamity finger, and he crashed into the wall of the main hall. The wall exploded, and Wan Pingyang fell to the ground like a pile of mud. He was already half dead. Chapter 1795. After using the primal chaos tribulation finger, Lu Ming dashed out, brandishing his combat sword continuously. Boom! Boom! The attacks from the other youths were all blocked by Lu Ming. Dong! Dong! Then Lu Ming stomped his feet on the ground, and countless runes spread toward Su Tuo and the others, forming a terrifying sealing force to seal them. Kill! Lu Ming hollered, and the divine sword art erupted. Some of the young men with weaker cultivation levels screamed miserably. Lu Ming held his sword and dashed out. Suddenly, 5 to 6 youths were killed by Lu Ming. "Lu Ming, you're courting death!" An old man roared in anger. Lu Ming was so bold that he dared to make a move in the myriad spirit exchange and kill the youths of the 4 major forces. He was simply lawless. At the scene, the others were also incomparably shocked. Even more people rushed outside to avoid being affected by the shock waves. "How dare you hurt my family and friends? I'll kill all of you!" Lu Ming roared. Today he would kill all of these youths. Poof! With a slash of his sword, another 2 youths were killed and died on the spot. Those who were below the Supreme Sage level were no match for him. They could not even block one of his attacks. Death was the only way out for them. Retreat! Retreat! At this time, Su Tuo and another Supreme Sage were scared. Their faces were pale as they frantically retreated. Lu Ming was simply a madman. "You can't escape." Lu Ming struck out with his palm and controlled the array law. Endless runes formed a huge rune scroll and directly covered one of the supreme sage prodigies. The prodigy struggled frantically, but what awaited him was Lu Ming's chaotic calamity finger. A huge finger exuded destructive fluctuations and pointed at the man. No! The man screamed in despair, but he was sealed by the array law and could not use much of his strength. When the chaotic calamity finger touched him, he screamed and his body was torn apart. A great saint-level genius had died just like that. Such a genius, even among the younger generation of the ancient moon holy ground, was a top existence. He was high and mighty, looking down on his peers. In the future, he was destined to become an emperor, immortal and indestructible. Now he was killed by Lu Ming just like that. Damn it! A few old men roared in anger. That genius was from one of their powers. Lu Ming's eyes were cold and indifferent. He stared at Su Tuo and his forehead lit up. The Taiji disc flew out and a huge Taiji diagram appeared, covering the entire hall. However, Su Tuo was determined to escape. Just as he was about to leave the hall, a transparent bubble suddenly appeared and enveloped him. "Don't kill me," Su Ta howled in despair as he reverted to his original form, a purple wolf god. "Weren't you very arrogant before, insulting my senior sister? Now where did your arrogance go? Kill!" As soon as Lu Ming spoke, the Taiji diagram transformed into a yin-yang fish sword that slashed out, killing Su Tuo on the spot. The second great sage prodigy had been killed. Who dares to cause trouble at the Thousand Spirit Exchange? At that moment, a long howl came from afar. The sound was so loud that it reached the clouds. "It's the Absolute Saint. The Absolute Saint is here. Kid, you're dead meat." Someone shouted. Wan Pingyang, who was severely injured, had hope in his eyes. Of course, there was also a crazy murderous intent. However, in the next moment, he was terrified. This was because Lu Ming was also looking at him. He took a step forward and appeared in front of him. "You, what are you doing? The Absolute Saint is here. Why don't you surrender?" Wan Pingyang roared. "It won't be too late to leave after I kill you." Lu Ming attacked coldly and swung his sword. Slash! The sword slashed down, and Wan Pingyang was split into two. His soul was destroyed. His eyes were still wide open, filled with unwillingness. The Absolute Saint was here, but Lu Ming still wanted to kill him. He had seen hope, but it instantly turned into despair. Ah! The elders screamed. They had lost too much today. Almost all of the geniuses of the four forces were killed by Lu Ming. "You're courting death." The Absolute Saint was extremely fast. He arrived in an instant. He scanned the hall with his spiritual consciousness and saw everything that happened. He was furious. "Huangling, Longqin, let's go!" Lu Ming bellowed. He soared into the sky and dashed toward the top of the main hall. With a slash of his sword, the roof of the main hall was directly slashed open. Huangling, Longchen, and Bubbles followed behind Lu Ming and rushed out. "Where do you think you're going?" The elders in the hall shouted and chased after Lu Ming. "Stay!" That Absolute Saint slammed his palm toward them from a distance away. A terrifying palm print covered the sky and was about to blast Lu Ming and the rest to death. "Open!" At this moment, Bubbles shouted and a space-time passageway was opened. The four of them rushed into the space-time passageway and disappeared. The next moment, the palm print struck and the space-time passageway collapsed. However, the four of them had already appeared tens of thousands of miles away. Then, the bubble opened another space-time passageway. The four of them rushed in and disappeared. Damn it, it's the space-time laws. An elder appeared in the sky with a flash of light. His eyes were extremely cold. Whoosh! Whoosh! Then, a few more figures rushed over from other directions in the Thousand Spirit Exchange. They were all Absolute Saints with powerful auras. The Absolute Saints rushed into the hall with gloomy faces. They looked around, and their faces were so dark that it was about to bleed. The entire hall was in a mess. More than a dozen Supreme Saints had died. More importantly, More than a dozen young geniuses had died here. It was a huge loss. One of the absolute saints went to Wan Tianbing. Wan Tianbing wasn't dead, but he had become an idiot. Report to the family. Send out experts. Even if we have to turn the ancient moon, sacred ground, upside down, we have to find Lu Ming. An angry roar resounded throughout the entire 1,000 spirit exchanges. Many people knew that a storm was coming. At this moment, Lu Ming, Huangling, Longchen, and Bubbles were hundreds of thousands of miles away. Only then did everyone stop. Lu Ming, you've killed so many geniuses from the four forces this time and caused a huge commotion in the 1,000 spirit exchanges. I'm afraid the four forces won't let this go. Huang Ling looked worried. Lu Ming, come with me to the Divine Elephant Sect. Long Qin said, Phoenix Palace is fine too. Huang Ling said. Lu Ming shook his head. Let's split up. I'll go alone. No way. The four forces will definitely send many experts to hunt you down. They might even send emperors. It's too dangerous for you to go alone. Huang Ling's expression changed. She looked anxious. If I were to go with you to Phoenix Palace or the Divine Elephant Sect, would Phoenix Palace or the Divine Elephant Sect risk offending the four major factions and start a war with them to protect me? Lu Ming asked. Chapter 1796. Each of the four major forces was extremely powerful and had an unfathomable foundation. How terrifying would it be if they joined forces? No one would dare to say that they could stop them alone. Would Phoenix Palace or Divine Elephant Sect risk war with the four major forces to protect Lu Ming? The answer was probably no. After all, Huang Ling and Long Chun were just juniors. They could not represent the upper echelons of Phoenix Palace and Divine Elephant Sect. Would they protect Lu Ming and take the risk of starting a war with the four forces? This time, the two of you did not kill anyone. The four major forces have no reason to deal with you. Go back first. I killed him, so they can only look for me. But don't worry. I have a way to avoid the four major forces' pursuit. Lu Ming said. He had the divine breath technique. Unless an emperor-level expert stood in front of him and carefully identified him, no one would be able to recognize him. But it's still too dangerous. Huang Ling was still worried. Go quickly. If you're late, they will catch up. I'll go first. After saying that, Lu Ming's figure flashed, and he quickly flew away. Then he asked Bubbles to open a space-time tunnel and left. Huang Ling and Long Qin had no choice but to return to their respective sections. Lu Ming and Bubbles did not fly for long before they stopped. Bubbles, go into the mountain river diagram. Lu Ming said. Brother Lu Ming. You have to be careful. Chirp, chirp. Bubbles chirped and then entered the mountain river diagram. Lu Ming's body and appearance began to change. In the end, he turned into a dark-skinned young man. Even his aura changed, and he became a completely different person. The divine breath technique was very similar to the illusion technique, but it was more powerful and mysterious. After changing his appearance, Lu Ming changed his direction and flew towards the Myriad Spirit Exchange. That's right, he wanted to return to the Myriad Spirit Exchange. The most dangerous place was the safest place. The four major forces would never expect Lu Ming to return to the Myriad Spirit Exchange. Moreover, there were many people in the Myriad Spirit Exchange. If he mixed in with the crowd, they would not be able to find him. At this time, angry voices came from the Wan family, Sky Bird Palace, Sky Wolf Tower, and Purple Extreme Sect. Lock down the ancient moon Holy Land and find Lu Ming. Following that, countless terrifying existences stepped out from the four forces and flew towards the ancient moon holy ground in all directions. There were even emperor-level experts. At this moment, the ancient moon holy ground was in an uproar. The four forces were enraged. The ancient moon holy ground was going to be shaken. News of what had happened at the 1,000 Spirit Exchange quickly spread throughout the entire ancient moon holy land at a terrifying speed. Countless people were shocked by Lu Ming's courage. In the myriad spirit exchange established by the four major forces, he had killed more than a dozen geniuses from the four major forces, including more than a dozen great sages. This was simply audacious. It would be strange if the four major forces were not enraged. Just as the experts from the four forces were rushing out, Lu Ming had already returned to the myriad spirit exchange. He swaggered down the street. No one knew that this was the Lu Ming who had caused the Guyu storm. No one would have thought that Lu Ming would actually come back. Lu Ming found an inn to stay in, then entered his room and entered the mountain and river diagram. On a mountain peak, Xuanningsin was sitting there. Senior sister. Lu Ming came to Xuanningsin's side. Junior brother. Xuanningsin's eyes lit up when she saw Lu Ming. Then she looked worried and said, Junior brother, you're too impulsive. You barely escaped from the Tsang continent, and now you're in danger. It's okay. They can't find me. Senior sister, are your injuries okay? Lu Ming asked. There were whip marks on Xuanningsin's body. Obviously, she had suffered some pain. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold again. It's okay. It's just some superficial wounds. Xuanningsin shook her head. Senior sister, I'll help you remove these seals first. Lu Ming said. Then, dense runes appeared in his palm and covered a ring on Xuanningsin's wrist. This ring was made with special materials and techniques. It could seal a person's cultivation. It was very magical. However, Lu Ming's array formation could seal some of it. First, he could reverse the seal on the ring. Then, it would be much easier to remove it. Then, he removed the other rings on Xuanningsin's body one by one. As soon as the rings were removed, Xuanningsin's cultivation recovered. As soon as her cultivation recovered, her injuries healed quickly. A moment later, the injuries on Xuanningsin's body disappeared. Senior sister, what's going on? How did you get caught by the four factions? Lu Ming asked a series of questions. He had heard from Zifeng that the Ice Dragon Valley Master had escaped with Xiangxiang, Tianque, and Xuanningsin. Now that Xuanningsin was caught, what about Xiangxiang and the others? Lu Ming couldn't help but worry. Back then, when the evil spirit sect attacked the Dragon God Valley, the Ice Dragon Valley Master saw the opportunity and rushed out with me, Tianque, and Xiangxiang. However, we were still discovered by the evil spirit sect. They chased us all the way until we escaped into the Cloud Sea mountain range. Unfortunately, we were unlucky and encountered a powerful beast in the Cloud Sea mountain range. Later, I was separated from the Valley Master and the others. I rushed out of the Cloud Sea mountain range on my own. I wanted to ask for help from a powerful force in the ancient Moon Holy Land, but I didn't expect to run into people from the Thousand Spirit Exchange before I even reached the ancient Moon Holy Land. They captured me the moment they saw me and brought me here to be sold as a slave, Xuanningsin explained. The four factions. A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. Xuanningsin must have suffered a lot during this period. I wonder how Xiangxiang and the others are doing? Where did they go? Lu Ming was still a little worried. Then Lu Ming and Xuanningsin chatted for a while before letting Xuanningsin have a good rest. He then left the mountain river diagram. After leaving the mountain river diagram, Lu Ming went to a restaurant. He ordered some wine and dishes and asked around. As expected, the entire Thousand Spirit Exchange was talking about Lu Ming. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In the sky, a figure whizzed past, bringing with it a terrifying gust of wind. The four factions really made a big move, that's for sure. Lu Ming killed more than a dozen of the four factions' geniuses and made a scene in the exchange. This is a slap in the faces of the four factions. It would be strange if they didn't go crazy. That's right, they were bullied to this extent by a junior. If they don't take down Lu Ming, how can they survive in the ancient moon, sacred ground in the future? Speaking of which, this Lu Ming is really daring. I'm afraid he's in danger this time. With an emperor-level expert here, he has nowhere to run. Even Phoenix Palace can't protect him. Lu Ming heard a lot of discussions in the restaurant. Buzz. At this time, a terrifying fluctuation came from the sky. An extremely terrifying aura spread from the sky as if an entire world was pressing down. Everyone's face changed drastically. An Emperor-level expert. Chapter 1797. The pressure in the sky came crashing down like waves, causing everyone's faces to change color. It was the Emperor's aura, the suppression of a martial emperor. Lu Ming's expression was grave. He used his divine breathing technique with all his might, but his original aura did not leak out at all. In the next moment, he felt a terrifying spiritual sense sweep over his body. However, it didn't stop and swept to other places in the next moment. Lu Ming relaxed. It seemed that the Emperor-level powerhouse did not recognize him. There were so many people in the 1,000 Spirit Exchange. The Emperor-level powerhouse could not see through his divine breathing technique at all. In the sky, a figure stood quietly. Countless people in the 1,000 Spirit Exchange looked up, but they could not see the person's face clearly. It was as if there was a world around him that blocked their vision. At that moment, the person frowned and retracted his spiritual consciousness. He muttered, "It seems that he's not here." As soon as he said that, the figure disappeared. The terrifying pressure also disappeared. Everyone in the 1,000 Spirit Exchange felt relieved. A martial emperor was too powerful. Even the lowest martial emperor was terrifying. Their lifespan was endless, and they had the power to destroy the world. With a thought, millions of corpses would fall and blood would flow for thousands of miles. As expected, even an emperor-level powerhouse has been mobilized. Lu Ming can't escape. Do you think Lu Ming is hiding in the Phoenix Palace or the Divine Elephant Sect? It's useless even if he's hiding in the Phoenix Palace or the Divine Elephant Sect. Those two sects can't protect him. As soon as the Emperor-level powerhouse left, the crowd began to discuss again. However, Lu Ming only ate and drank quietly. Soon he returned to his room. At that moment, outside the Phoenix Palace, several terrifying figures descended. Each figure exuded a terrifying aura. It was the Emperor's aura. Several Emperor-level powerhouses had descended upon the Phoenix Palace at the same time. Emperor-level powerhouses. Almost everyone in the Phoenix Palace was alarmed. One figure after another flew out and looked at the Emperor-level powerhouses in the sky. Their expressions were grave. "I wonder what brings you all to the Phoenix Palace at the same time." A voice was heard. Then a woman in palace robe stepped out and appeared in the sky above the Phoenix Palace. This person was the Palace Master of the Phoenix Palace. "Palace Master of the Phoenix Palace, we're here for a person. Please hand over Lu Ming." In the sky, one of them spoke. This person's aura was extremely sharp. In the air, "Lu Ming is not in the Phoenix Palace. Palace Master of the Phoenix Palace. Not here. Phoenix Palace Master, don't cover up for Lu Ming. Even if you do, you won't be able to." This person was an Emperor-level powerhouse. "I have already said that Lu Ming is not in Phoenix Palace. I can use my name as the Lord of Phoenix Palace as a guarantee." In the sky, several powerful existences frowned. Since Phoenix Palace Master said so, Lu Ming was most likely not around. The Wan clan's martial emperor said coldly, "What a joke." Palace Master of the Phoenix Palace's voice turned cold. "Huang Ling did not kill the people of the 4 major forces. What does that have to do with her?" "Of course, she helped Lu Ming to kill the people of the 4 major forces. Otherwise, how could Lu Ming do it alone? She must pay the price. She must be buried with the people of the 4 major forces." The martial emperor from the Wan clan spoke again. His voice was filled with killing intent. "What a joke. I have already investigated the matter. The reason why Huang Ling took action, then, was because the seniors of the 4 forces attacked them. That was why she took action to protect herself. Countless people in the myriad spirit exchange saw this matter. Under such circumstances, if she did not take action, would she have allowed them to kill her? Palace Master of the Phoenix Palace said, "Palace Master of the Phoenix Palace, are you not going to hand her over?" The martial emperor from the Wan clan said coldly, "No. If you want to start a war with the Phoenix Palace because of this, I'll gladly oblige." Palace Master of the Phoenix Palace was very domineering. The few martial emperors in the sky frowned. At that time, it was true that the seniors had attacked first. Huangling and the others had fought back. However, Palace Master of the Phoenix Palace had said that Huangling had defended herself. Most importantly, Huangling did not kill the people of the four major forces. If they started a war with the Phoenix Palace because of this, the other forces might intervene. This was because the Phoenix Palace had a good relationship with other forces. However, if Lu Ming was here and the Phoenix Palace still protected Lu Ming, they would have a reason to take action. The other forces would not be able to interfere. In fact, Lu Ming had already seen through this, and that was why he had not come to the Phoenix Palace. "Where's Huangling? Ask her to come out. I want to ask her about Lu Ming." The martial emperor from the Wan clan said coldly, "I'm here." Huangling stepped out and stood in the sky. Swoosh! The martial emperors of the Wan clan and Skywolf Pagoda looked at Huangling. A terrifying pressure pressed down on Huangling. Her expression changed, and she retreated. She almost vomited blood. Palace Master of the Phoenix Palace waved her hand. An array of energy landed on Huangling, isolating her from the pressure. "Speak. Where is Lu Ming?" The martial emperor of the Wan clan said firmly, "I don't know." Huangling shook her head. "If you don't know, how dare you lie?" The martial emperor of the Wan clan shouted. His voice was deafening, and the heavens and earth rumbled. Huangling's face turned pale. However, she stubbornly raised her head and said, "I don't know. After Lu Ming and I came out of the Thousand Spirit Exchange, we parted ways." With Lu Ming's intelligence, he naturally knew that it was useless to come to the Phoenix Palace. Therefore, he left alone. "I don't believe you. I'll search your soul to confirm it," the martial emperor of the Wan clan said coldly. He then raised his hand, and a huge hand grabbed at Huangling. The hand was like an entire world, and there was no way to avoid it. "Enough!" Palace Master of the Phoenix Palace waved her hand. A phoenix flew out and destroyed the huge hand. An emperor attacking a junior disciple. How shameful! "If you want to fight, I'll accompany you," Palace Master of the Phoenix Palace said. At the same time, a few more terrifying auras rushed out from the Phoenix Palace. The martial emperors of the Wan clan, Skywolf Pagoda, and Sky Bird Palace frowned and looked at each other. "I hope you're telling the truth. Otherwise, we'll fight the Phoenix Palace," the martial emperor of the Wan clan said. He then turned around and disappeared into the sky. Then the other martial emperors also disappeared. "Let's return to the mountain." Palace Master of the Phoenix Palace looked solemn as she brought Huangling back to the Phoenix Palace. The same scene played out in the Divine Elephant Sect. However, the Divine Elephant Sect was even more domineering. Long Chen's master was a terrifying existence. He sent a martial emperor flying with a slap. The elites of the four major forces had no choice but to retreat. Lu Ming was not in the Divine Elephant Sect, so they could not attack. Chapter 1798. Time passed and another month passed. During this month, the ancient Moon Sacred Land was in turmoil. The experts of the four forces searched everywhere. But Lu Ming seemed to have disappeared into thin air. No matter how hard the four forces searched, they couldn't find anything. After a month, the four forces finally quieted down. They seemed to know that it was useless to continue searching like this. Lu Ming, on the other hand, swaggered around the Thousand Spirit Exchange to cultivate. When he was free, he would go shopping and buy some treasures. He was living a carefree life. "I still haven't broken through to the Supreme Saint level," but I should be soon. I feel like I'm about to reach the limit of the bright saint level. When the time is right, I'll be able to break through naturally. Lu Ming strolled around a street, then bought some spiritual herbs and dragon bones. During this time, he bought some absolute saint dragon bones and dragon blood in the 1,000 spirit exchange. However, after refining them, his spirit body didn't evolve. It was too difficult for a mid-level heaven spirit body to evolve into an upper-level heaven spirit body. After all, the upper-level heaven spirit body was the highest level of spirit body. Lu Ming bought some things and returned to the inn to continue cultivating. In the blink of an eye, another month passed. In the mountain river diagram, Lu Ming sat cross-legged on the enlightenment ancient tree. At this moment, dragon roars came from his body, and saint power gushed out like a pillar, shooting into the sky. In his dantian, the two saint hearts spun wildly and endless saint power gushed out. Boom! Lu Ming's aura suddenly skyrocketed. He had broken through to the supreme saint level. At this moment, Lu Ming waved his hand, and a large pile of upper-level origin stones appeared. Devour! Lu Ming unleashed his devouring power and began to devour the energy of the origin stones and refine them. Lu Ming's body was like a black hole, and endless origin chi poured into Lu Ming's body, turning into his saint power. Lu Ming's saint power grew stronger and stronger, and the two saint hearts became fuller and clearer. The aura they emitted also grew stronger. After a few hours, Lu Ming finally stopped devouring the primordial aura. His aura then stabilized. I've finally broken through to the great saint realm. Lu Ming opened his eyes, revealing a faint smile. After breaking through to the great saint realm, his strength had skyrocketed. If he were to fight against Wan Pingyang and Su Ta now, he would be able to kill them with a single slap. There was no need for him to use the chaotic tribulation finger. Now that I've broken through to the great sage realm, I should go out and take a look at the situation outside. Lu Ming pondered. In order to break through to a new realm, it was impossible to blindly go into seclusion. One still needed to gain experience in order to advance to the next level. Lu Ming exited the mountain and river diagram and headed outside. However, the moment Lu Ming went out, he realized that something was amiss. Many people were flying out of the myriad spirit exchange. There were a large number of people entering and exiting the 1,000 spirit exchange every day, but it was rare to see so many people flying out together. Uncle, what happened? Lu Ming stopped a yellow-faced man in his 50s and asked with a simple and honest smile. Little brother, you still don't know, right? The ancient Great Pill Evolution Hall has appeared. The yellow-faced man said, Great Pill Evolution Hall. Lu Ming was confused. You don't know. The yellow-faced man said, Uncle, I just came to the ancient moon Holy Land not long ago, so I haven't heard of the Great Pill Evolution Hall. Why don't I go with you, and you can tell me about it? Lu Ming said naively, That's fine too. Come with me. We'll talk as we walk. The yellow-faced man said. At that moment, the two of them soared into the sky and followed the crowd, flying in a direction. On the way, the yellow-faced man also explained. In ancient times, the ancient moon Holy Land had a sect that was famous throughout the entire Yuan Mountain. This sect was the Great Pill Evolution Hall. The Great Pill Evolution Hall was so famous not because of its strength, but because of its alchemy skills. According to legend, the Great Pill Evolution Hall was passed down to a single disciple. However, its alchemy skills were the best of the world. The Great Pill Evolution Hall's Great Pill Evolution Scripture, coupled with the Great Pill Evolution Furnace, could refine all kinds of pills. For example, it could directly condense the laws of the world and refine pills that could improve the laws. It could also refine pills that could allow the spiritual body to evolve. This alchemy skill could be said to be incredible. However, in ancient times, the Great Pill Evolution Hall suddenly disappeared in a day. Even the mountain gate of the Great Pill Evolution Hall disappeared. Countless powerful forces and experts almost turned the entire ancient Moon Holy Land upside down, but they still could not find the Great Pill Evolution Hall. Later generations had countless guesses as to why the Great Pill Evolution Hall disappeared without a trace overnight. Some people said that a supreme expert coveted the Great Pill Evolution Hall's inheritance and destroyed the Great Pill Evolution Hall, seizing the Great Pill Evolution Scripture and Great Pill Evolution Furnace. However, many people did not believe this saying. Although the Great Pill Evolution Hall was passed down to a single disciple, each generation of people was a top genius in the world. When each generation grew up, their strength was extremely terrifying. It was not that easy to destroy the Great Pill Evolution Hall. There was another saying that the Great Pill Evolution Hall had too few people, and in the end its inheritance was lost, so it automatically went into seclusion. In any case, there were different opinions, and there was no unified answer. However, the Great Pill Evolution Scripture, the alchemy skill that could seize the heavens and the earth, was lost. Recently, there was an anomaly at the old site of the Great Pill Evolution Hall, and it was suspected that the Great Pill Evolution Hall was about to appear. Countless people went there to try their luck. According to the ancient records, in a great era where geniuses came out in large numbers, kings contended for hegemony, and all kinds of ancient inheritances would appear one after another, looking for successors. Now that it was a great era, it was normal for the Great Pill Evolution Hall to appear. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. The Great Pill Evolution Scripture could directly condense the laws of heaven and earth to refine pills, and it could even refine pills that could allow the spiritual body to evolve. This alchemy skill was really heaven-defying. If a powerful force obtained it, how many geniuses would it give birth to? Lu Ming followed the yellow-faced man and flew all the way. Soon, they saw that the void in front of them was filled with people. They had arrived at the old site of the Great Pill Evolution Hall. The two of them flew into the crowd and found that everyone was looking forward. The two of them looked forward and found that there was a small hill in front of them. That small hill looked like a pill furnace, and it looked very ordinary. This is the old site of the Great Pill Evolution Hall. It looks very ordinary, and there is nothing special about it. Why is it attracting so many people? Lu Ming was very surprised. It's here again. At this moment, someone said, "Buzz." The small hill seemed to be shaking. Then a green halo spread out. Accompanying the halo was a fragrance. It was the fragrance of medicinal pills. What a strong fragrance of pills! Lu Ming couldn't help but take a deep breath. The fragrance of pills assailed his nostrils, and he felt refreshed and comfortable. What was even more shocking was that the hill was emitting a medicinal fragrance, and as the halo spread out, it was actually slowly growing bigger. Yes, the hill was growing bigger, and Lu Ming was definitely not mistaken. The hill is growing bigger again. Every time it emits a halo, the hill will grow bigger. Is the Great Pill Evolution Hall really going to appear? It's highly possible, but it hasn't completely appeared yet. We have to wait. Chapter 1799. Half a day later, the hill had doubled in size. It was only a few dozen meters tall before, but now it was 100 meters tall. The halo had also disappeared. After the halo disappeared, the pill fragrance also slowly faded. The Great Pill Derivation Palace is most likely under the ground. Watch me break it open. A burly man stepped out. He exuded a terrifying aura. He was a saint. Whoosh! The man's palm was like a blade. He slashed out, and a shocking blade light formed. It slashed toward the hill, trying to split it open. However, when the blade light landed on the mound, a ring of light burst out from the mound. Under this light, the blade light instantly collapsed. When the burly figure was hit by this light, his body violently trembled. He coughed up blood and retreated. His face was pale and filled with fear. "You overestimate yourself." Someone sneered. There were so many people here, and many of them were saints. There were even quasi-emperors. How could no one have tried before? However, all of them had been injured and retreated. That was why so many people were waiting here. Everyone fell into deep thought. The Great Pill Development Palace was no small matter. It seemed that it was almost impossible for external forces to break it open when it appeared on its own. Uncle, thank you for leading the way. Lu Ming thanked the yellow-faced uncle. Then he went to the side alone and sat cross-legged on a mountain peak, waiting quietly. As time passed, more and more people arrived. At a glance, the sky was almost filled with people. Every once in a while, the hill would emit light and grow a little bigger. Time passed, and the hill grew bigger and bigger. Half a month later, the hill became tens of thousands of meters tall. It towered into the clouds and was surrounded by clouds. It looked like a celestial mountain. From afar, it looked like an incomparably huge pill furnace standing between the heavens and the earth. And it wasn't over yet. The pill furnace mountain was still growing. It would grow bigger every day. Another half a month passed. Lu Ming had been here for a month. The alchemy furnace mountain was already hundreds of thousands of feet high. It was like a sacred mountain. A large piece of land in the surrounding area had been occupied. The pill furnace mountain isn't growing any longer. At that moment, someone said, the pill furnace mountain hadn't grown in size for 3 days. Could it be that the pill furnace mountain had completely appeared? Many people stared ahead with fiery eyes. At this moment, a figure stepped out from the sky. This figure was shrouded in terrifying divine light. His appearance could not be seen clearly, but he exuded a terrifying aura. He stood high up in the sky, but it gave people the illusion that an entire world was standing there. The shocking pressure caused everyone's expression to change greatly, and even their breathing became a little difficult. Marshal Emperor. Someone spoke up, his voice incomparably loud. An emperor-level figure had appeared. With the appearance of a martial emperor, how could they compete? However, this was only the beginning. Next, in the sky, one figure after another appeared. These figures were all emitting divine light, as if they were gods. It was as if they were floating in the sky. Emperor-level experts. They were all emperor-level experts. And emperor-level powerhouses, Saint Heart had condensed into a small world and possessed the power of a world. Just by standing there, it was like a world of its own. There were more than a dozen martial emperors standing in the sky, dominating the area, making people feel a terrifying pressure. However, this was not the end. The number of emperor-level experts was still increasing. In the end, more than 20 emperor-level experts had appeared. Many people were dumbfounded. How many years had it been since so many emperor-level experts had gathered? Obviously, the appearance of the Great Development Pill Hall this time had caused even the emperor-level experts to be unable to remain calm and had personally taken action. It was likely that all the major forces in the ancient Moon Holy Land had sent emperor-level experts. Lu Ming was also secretly surprised. As expected of the ancient Moon Holy Land, more than 20 emperor-level experts had gathered. How magnificent! You guys really came out. In the sky, a strong voice echoed between heaven and earth, causing the void to rumble. Emperor-level experts had condensed a small world. Every move they made had the power of a world which could destroy heaven and earth. Their power was unimaginable. Even if they opened their mouths to speak, if they were not suppressed, there was still a terrifying power. How can I not come when the Great Development Pill Hall has appeared? Likewise, in the sky, several voices sounded one after another. Below, the others were silent. No one dared to make a sound. The emperor-level experts had appeared. If they dared to make a sound and offended one of them, they would be killed with a slap. That would be a pity. Since you're here, why don't you make a move? The burly figure who had arrived first spoke. No hurry, someone said lightly. You guys are really cunning. You're just waiting for others to take the lead. If you're not going to make a move, I'll do it. The burly figure spoke with a faint disdain in his voice. Then he took a step forward and rushed toward the Pill Furnace Mountain. In an instant, he rushed into the mountain and was hidden by the clouds. Buzz! At that moment, the mountain shook and a halo spread out. rushing toward the burly figure. "Open up!" A rumbling sound came out from the mountain. Then a shocking sword light shot up into the sky, as if it was going to split the sky and the earth. The vast sword power caused the faces of all those below the emperor level to change drastically. In the face of such power, those below the emperor level were like ants and could be easily destroyed. This was the strength of an emperor-level expert. "It's the great Baron Sword Sex Martial Emperor," someone whispered softly. However, the result was beyond everyone's expectations. The sword radiance that could destroy heaven and earth did not destroy the halo. The halo rushed past, and the sword radiance collapsed. The sound of the sword resonated through heaven and earth. Then, a burly figure quickly retreated out of the range of the mountain. The divine light on his body trembled a little and revealed his true appearance. It was a middle-aged man with a combat sword on his back. At that moment, his face was a little pale. "There's a terrifying formation in the mountain," the middle-aged man said with a gloomy face. "Looks like you can't do it. Let me do it." A cold and arrogant voice was heard. Then, a figure shrouded in golden flames stepped out. "Caw!" With a cry, the figure turned into a three-legged golden crow. It was extremely huge and looked like a sun in the sky. It was an emperor-level expert from the three-legged golden crow clan. It was powerful and terrifying. The three-legged golden crow flapped its wings, and its huge figure turned into a golden light and rushed into the mountain. However, the result was the same as the great Baron Sword Sex Martial Emperor. He was also sent flying by the halo. His expression was ugly, and he was extremely unhappy. Then other emperor-level experts tried, but the result was the same. They were all sent flying. "I suggest that we join forces. It's difficult to go in alone." A cold voice was heard. This person was extremely terrifying and exuded an extremely sharp aura. There seemed to be countless weapons flying around his body. Each weapon exuded a terrifying power. This person was an emperor-level expert from the Wan clan. "That's right. Let's join forces and break this formation." Chapter 1800. Bam! Bam! Then 7 emperor-level powerhouses stepped out and rushed into the mountain. Buzz! The pill furnace mountain continued to vibrate, and rays of light burst out from it. Those emperor-level powerhouses also made their move. A terrifying rumble erupted in the area, shaking the heavens and the earth. "Retreat! Retreat!" Those below the emperor level retreated. The emperor level powerhouses were too terrifying. If they were even slightly affected, they would definitely be reduced to ashes. The world shook, and the pill furnace mountain emitted a bright light. It was enveloped by rings of light. That was the light of pill chi, but it could erupt with shocking power. It was incomparably mysterious. Moreover, the shaking became more and more intense. The pill furnace mountain actually became somewhat illusory, as if it would break through the sky at any time. Whoosh! Whoosh! Their figures flashed, and those emperor-level powerhouses all retreated outside the mountain. "We can't force our way in. Otherwise, the pill furnace mountain will break through the sky and escape again." Someone frowned. "Then what should we do?" Someone asked. "It seems that the Great Pill Development Palace doesn't welcome Emperor-level powerhouses. It seems that we can only send those below the Emperor level in to try." An Emperor-level powerhouse said. The others fell silent for a moment, then nodded. Emperor-level powerhouses couldn't enter at all. Even if they all attacked, the Pill Furnace Mountain would probably disappear into the void again. At that time, they wouldn't be able to obtain anything. They could only send those below the Emperor level to try. Then, these Emperor-level powerhouses began to send those below the Emperor level. At first, they sent Boundary Emperors, but without exception, they were all blasted out. Correspondingly, the strength of the halos was much weaker. They only blasted Boundary Emperors out. At most, they would be injured. The power was far from being able to deal with Emperor-level powerhouses. Otherwise, they would be able to kill a bunch of boundary emperors in an instant. After that, they sent absolute saints, but it was still useless. The emperor-level powerhouses were very patient. They slowly experimented, and finally the results were out. Only the younger generation below the age of 50 could enter. The halo was the weakest. Some prodigies could withstand it and enter smoothly. Immediately, the major forces began to send the younger generation here. Soon, all the prodigies gathered here. Not only that, but there were also many prodigies from the ancient moon, sacred ground, and the ancient moon, sacred ground. There were also many prodigies from the ordinary emperor-level forces. Lu Ming was also mixed in with some young people, so he didn't attract any attention. You guys go in. When the time comes, find a chance to wipe out the geniuses of the Divine Elephant Sect and Phoenix Palace, especially Huangling and Long Qin. Beside the Wan clan's sovereign realm expert stood a few geniuses of the Wan clan. At this moment, the Wan clan's sovereign realm expert transmitted his voice to them. His voice was extremely cold. Yes, Martial Emperor. The geniuses of the Wan clan nodded. Don't worry. I've already contacted the Heavenly Wolf Pagoda, Sky Bird Palace, and Violet Extreme Sect. Anyone who dares to join forces with Lu Ming and kill my Wan clan's geniuses will definitely die. The Emperor-level expert from the Wan clan said coldly. The eyes of the geniuses of the Wan clan flashed with cold light. Go! The Wan clan's Emperor-level expert waved his hand. Whoosh! Whoosh! The geniuses of the Wan clan all flew towards the Cauldron Mountain. At the same time, the other faction's geniuses also rushed towards the mountain. Lu Ming mixed in with the ordinary Emperor-class faction's geniuses and also rushed towards the mountain. Many young geniuses rushed into the mountain. The mountain of pill furnaces also emitted layers of light. However, these layers of light were relatively weaker. Lu Ming only felt a slight numbness in his body as he resisted the power of these layers of light. He seemed to be very relaxed. However, not everyone was as relaxed as him. Some of the weaker geniuses' expressions changed drastically. Their bodies shook violently as they quickly retreated out of the range of the mountain. Some people were eliminated before they could even enter. Their expressions were ugly, but there were still many people who resisted the pressure and headed towards the depths of the mountain. Not long after, they entered the depths of the mountain and disappeared into the clouds, disappearing from the sight of outsiders, who will be able to obtain the inheritance of the Great Pill Development Hall. Everyone pondered, revealing a look of anticipation as they waited quietly. The Cauldron Mountain occupied a vast area. After Lu Ming and the others entered, they were surrounded by white fog and their vision was not very good. The Cauldron Mountain was still very far away from them. Everyone leaped into the air and disappeared into the boundless clouds and mist. Lu Ming also moved and rushed towards the Cauldron Mountain. However, after running for half an hour, they were still very far away from the Cauldron Mountain. They could only look at it, but not reach it. The people who had entered had already scattered. As far as the eye could see, there was not a single person in sight. It didn't look very far from the outside. I didn't expect it to be so far after entering. Lu Ming muttered to himself as he continued forward. Not long after, Lu Ming suddenly stopped. He saw a few figures flashing in front of him. Those were the figures of the Wan clan. These people of the Wan clan are sneaking around. What are they trying to do? Let's follow them and take a look. Lu Ming's gaze shifted. He withdrew his aura and quietly followed. The few geniuses of the Wan clan went in one direction. Not long after, they set up an ambush at the edge of a valley. Not long after, other people appeared and set up an ambush nearby. It's the people of the Skywolf Pagoda and the ZG sect. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Behind them, he saw the people of the Sky Bird Palace. These four forces were the ones who had joined forces to establish the Myriad Spirit Exchange. They were on good terms. What were these people trying to do? Soon Lu Ming found out. In front of him, 5 to 6 figures were running over. Huangling, Long Qin. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Among those figures, Huangling and Long Qin were among them. As for the others, they were obviously the geniuses of the Phoenix Palace and the Divine Elephant Sect. The Wan clan and the others had set up an ambush here to deal with Huangling and the others. They're courting death. A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes, and he suddenly shouted, "Kill!" His voice spread far and wide, causing Huangling and Long Chen's expressions to change. They couldn't help but stop. "We haven't entered the encirclement yet," which idiot shouted. The geniuses of the Wan clan had gloomy expressions. Someone cursed. The people of the four forces were lying in ambush in different places. They thought that it was the other forces who had called. The people of the other forces were the same. They thought that it was the other forces who had called. "Who's there?" Long Chen's eyes were like lightning as he scanned the surroundings. Whoosh! Whoosh! There was a piercing sound as the geniuses of the Wan clan flew out and appeared in front of Huangling and the others. Since the ambush didn't work, they could only attack directly. "It's the Wan clan." Huangling's face darkened. "And us." Voices were heard as the geniuses of the other 3 forces appeared. In a flash, they surrounded Huangling and the others in the middle. Wan clan, Skywolf Pagoda, Skybird Palace, Ziji Sect, what are you trying to do? Chapter 1801. What are you trying to do? Huangling, Long Qin, you helped Lu Ming kill our 4 family Skype rides and wreaked havoc at the 1,000 Spirit Exchange. Do you think we'll let you off just like that? You'll pay with your lives. One of the Wan family's Sky Pride sneered. His killing intent was icy cold. So it's because of this. Humph. Many of your family's Sky Prides have died. Don't let them all die. Long Qin said coldly. The aura on his body became violent. His body swelled and his arms became thicker, containing endless power. You're the ones who will die. Let's attack together. The Wan family's Sky Prides shouted coldly. However, at that moment, the sound of something breaking through the air came from afar. 4 to 5 figures flew over rapidly, causing the Sky Prides of the Wan family and Skywolf Pagoda to change their expressions slightly. In the next moment, there was a flash of light and 5 figures stood in the sky. Hee, it's really lively. Brother Wan, why don't we join in? One of the golden-robed young men said, his voice filled with killing intent. So it's the brothers from the Golden Crow clan. Great, ha ha ha, let's attack together. The Sky Prides of the 4 forces were overjoyed. Huangling, Long Qin, and the others looked even more upset. Everyone from the Golden Crow clan, we have no grudges against each other. Why are you adding insult to injury? Huangling said, facing the 4 forces, they were already doomed. With the addition of the Sky Prides of the Golden Crow clan, they were in even more danger. No grudges? What a joke. You're with Lu Ming. Even if you have grudges against us, you have to kill those who are with Lu Ming. A golden-robed young man said coldly. He was the 9th prince of the Golden Crow clan. Back in the Phoenix Nest, he was almost stripped of all his feathers by Lu Ming. He hated Lu Ming to the core. Let's attack together and kill them. Let's find the inheritance of the Great Pill Development Hall. The leader of the Wan family's Sky Prides shouted. Light spots lit up on his body, and sacred weapons flew out. This person's cultivation was extremely terrifying. He was a lesser great sage and was not any weaker than Wan Pingyang. He was also one of the strongest Sky Prides of the Wan family. In addition, there were Sky Wolf Pagoda, Ziji Sect, and Sky Bird Palace. In total, there were 5 Sky Prides of the Great Sage. And this power was extremely terrifying. It was enough to kill Huangling and Long Qin. Moreover, he had the help of the Golden Crows. Among the 5 Golden Crows, there were 2 supreme saint prodigies. They were the Golden Crow 5th Prince and the Golden Crow 4th Prince. All of them were consummate chosen, and each and every one of them was strong enough to fight opponents above their level of cultivation. In fact, ordinary great sages were no match for them. Charge out! Huang Ling and Long Chen's faces were extremely ugly. They gathered together and rushed madly in the same direction. You can't escape. Kill! The four great forces and the Golden Crow tribe's experts attacked together. Terrifying attacks rained down on the Golden Crow tribe. Long Chen roared furiously and unleashed his full power. Both of his fists punched out continuously. In an instant, he had punched out dozens of times, destroying the attacks one after another. As for Huang Ling, she used the inextinguishable flame law. The cry of a phoenix resounded through the world, protecting the others. However, even with so many experts working together, Long Chen and Huang Ling still trembled. Their faces turned pale, and blood flowed out from the corners of their mouths. The law of undying flame, the law of extreme force, and two king bodies should be killed. One of the Wan clan's chosen sneered, looking jealous. Long Chen and Huang Ling had comprehended the law of king bodies, which were called king bodies. The more they cultivated, the stronger their combat power would be in the future. In the future, they would surpass the rest of the Wan clan's chosen. This was also the reason why the emperor-level experts of the four great forces had ordered them to kill Long Chen and Huang Ling king bodies. When developed, would be extremely terrifying. By then, the strength of Phoenix Palace and Divine Elephant Sect would be even more shocking, surpassing the other forces. Therefore, such geniuses had to be killed in the cradle. Anyway, even if they died in the Great Evolution Elixir Palace, no one would know how they died and no one would blame them. Kill! Kill the king bodies! Voices filled with murderous intent were heard. More terrifying attacks were launched toward Huang Ling and the others. At this moment, Huang Ling and the others' bodies rippled like water. They moved 100 meters away and dodged the attacks. Kill! In the sky! A loud shout was heard, causing some of the weaker cultivators to scream. Then, a huge finger descended from the sky. It was as if a deity had attacked, pointing toward the Wan clan's chosen. This is the law of chaos. It's Lu Ming. The leader of the Wan clan's chosen let out a cry of despair. He unleashed all of his strength and rushed toward the huge finger with his sacred weapons, hoping to block it. But now that Lu Ming had broken through to the Supreme Saint level, his combat power had skyrocketed. How could he block the chaotic finger of calamity? The chaotic finger of calamity crushed through. The Wan clan's chosen, who were below the Supreme Saint level, did not even have time to scream. Their bodies exploded and their souls were destroyed. The Supreme Saint's chosen did not resist for long. He let out an unwilling roar, and his body exploded as well. Another great sage prodigy from the Wan clan had fallen. Whoosh! In the sky, a young man in a black robe stepped down. His black hair fluttered, and his face was cold. Around him, more than 100 sacred weapons danced. It was Lu Ming. Lu Ming! Huang Ling, Long Chen, and the others were overjoyed. As for the other forces chosen, their expressions changed drastically. Lu Ming! How dare you appear again and kill the Wan clan's chosen? This time you can't escape. No one can save you. A chosen from the Sirius Pagoda roared. Who will know if I kill all of you? Lu Ming said coldly. Kill all of us? Ridiculous. Although your combat power is strong, with so many of us joining forces, it's enough to kill you. A young man in a purple robe stepped out from the ZG sect. His purple hair fluttered in the wind, and his aura was wild. This person's cultivation was at the great sage, greater mastery. He had a mid-level heaven spiritual body, and his combat power was shocking. That's right. If we join forces, we can kill him. A person from the Golden Crow clan also stepped out. Together with the ZG sect's chosen, they formed a triangle. Their violent auras pressed toward Lu Ming. He was the Golden Crow fourth prince, who was stronger than the Golden Crow fifth prince. He also had a great sage, greater mastery, cultivation. You guys, send a few people to block Huanling and Longchen. The rest of you, kill Lu Ming with me. The ZG Sex chosen instructed. Suddenly, two figures flashed, and two Supreme Saint Chosen rushed toward Longchen and Huanling, blocking in front of them. Their mission was to stall Huanling and Longchen, while the rest of them killed Lu Ming. As long as they killed Lu Ming, they could kill Huanling and the others. Purple light burst out, forming an extreme purple battle sword, and charged toward Lu Ming. The Golden Crow let out a long cry, and the fire of the Grand Sun burned fiercely. The Golden Crow spread its wings, and the terrifying Grand Sun, true fire, surged toward Lu Ming. At the same time, the other Supreme Saint Chosen also launched a terrifying attack toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming, be careful, Huanling warned. Lu Ming's expression was calm. He held a holy weapon in his hand and stepped out. Dong! Suddenly, endless runes appeared in the sky, forming a terrifying sealing power that covered the Golden Crow fourth prince and the others. Oh no, it's the law of Array Dao, the sealing power! Why does he have two types of law? Chapter 1802. Not only did Lu Ming possess two types of laws, but they were also extremely terrifying. The law of chaos was one of the 10 strongest laws in the world, while the law of array was also one of the sovereign laws, second only to the 10 strongest laws. In the martial sage realm, one could only cultivate one type of law and control one type of law. Only when one reached the martial emperor realm, one could cultivate multiple types of laws. This was an ironclad rule. How could Lu Ming control two types of laws in the martial sage realm? Kill! Lu Ming stepped forward and slashed out with his sword. The terrifying sword radiance caused the void to tremble. The sword radiance slashed out, and the attack of the ZG Sex genius collapsed instantly. The sword radiance did not stop and slashed down. The ZG Sex genius in the Great Sage realm did not even have time to scream before he was split in half by Lu Ming's sword. So what if he was a genius in the Great Sage realm? Lu Ming, who had reached the Great Sage realm, still slashed him in half with his sword. Retreat quickly. This person is demonic. We can't fight him head-on. Someone roared and retreated frantically. The genius in the Great Sage realm was slashed by Lu Ming in half with his sword. This kind of combat strength was too shocking and made them shiver all over. The Golden Crow fourth prince, who had previously relied on his cultivation to act high and mighty, retreated faster than anyone else. However, as soon as they retreated, it was as if they had hit a wall. The space in the void seemed to have solidified. On the other side, Bubble pouted and looked harmless. Kill! Lu Ming stepped on the air and slashed out with his sword. The chi of the war weapon soared into the sky. Poof! Blood splattered, and another genius in the Great Sage realm was slashed. The others were scared out of their wits. They frantically fled in all directions. However, Bubble used the space-time domain and sealed the void. They could not escape at all. Lu Ming moved and killed another genius. Kill! Then Lu Ming shouted again, and the divine sword art burst out and blasted into the bodies of the geniuses. Those geniuses below the Great Sage realm screamed and then breathed their last. All those below the Great Sage realm had their souls torn apart by Lu Ming. Even the Great Sage geniuses were trembling and bleeding from their 7 orifices. Lu Ming had broken through to the Great Sage realm, and his battle prowess had skyrocketed. These geniuses who were at the same level as him, or one level higher, were no match for Lu Ming at all. The difference between them was too great. There were only 4 people left at the scene. The Golden Crow fourth Crown Prince, the 5th Crown Prince, the Skybird Palace, and the Skywolf Pagoda each had a prodigy. Lu Ming, you've killed so many of our men. You're dead for sure. The Golden Crow fourth Prince roared. How laughable! You were the ones who came to kill Longchen and the others first. Could it be that you don't allow us to resist? Lu Ming stared at the golden crow fourth prince and said coldly. Then he charged towards the golden crow fourth prince. The golden crow fourth prince's expression was extremely ugly. At this moment, he seemed to have made some sort of decision. A ruthless expression flashed through his eyes. Then he opened his mouth and spat out a pair of wings. It was a pair of golden wings. At first glance, one could tell that it was the wings of the golden crow. The golden crow fourth prince spat out a few mouthfuls of blood on the wings. The wings shone brightly, and the fire of the sun burned fiercely. The golden crow fourth prince turned into a beam of golden light and flew out like lightning. Crack! The spatial wall set up by the bubble couldn't stop him at all and was directly penetrated. Then the golden crow fourth prince ran away at an incredible speed and disappeared without a trace. Emperor-level golden crow wings! Lu Ming's face was gloomy. He didn't expect the golden crow fourth prince to have such a treasure. It was clearly a pair of emperor-level golden crow wings. Together with the golden crow fourth prince's origin blood, his speed was extremely fast. In a short time, he had the speed of an emperor-level golden crow. Lu Ming couldn't catch up with him at all. This was the best life-saving treasure. After the golden crow fourth prince ran away, the remaining three showed a glimmer of hope. Lu Ming, you'd better let me go. My fourth brother has escaped. The martial emperors outside will soon know that you killed so many of our people. They won't let you go. If you let me go, I can find my fourth brother first. When we get out, we'll keep this a secret. We won't say that you killed them. The golden crow fifth prince shouted. That's right. We can also keep this a secret. Otherwise, you'll die without a burial place when the martial emperors are angry. The Sky Pride of the Sky Bird Palace said. Oh, is that so? Lu Ming pondered. The golden crow fifth prince and the others were overjoyed. They thought that Lu Ming was really afraid and didn't dare to kill them. Suddenly, Lu Ming moved. He stabbed the golden crow fifth prince's dantian and nailed him to the ground. Lu Ming! The golden crow fifth prince shouted. The golden crow fifth prince screamed and looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. He could not figure out why Lu Ming would suddenly attack. What a fool! Even if today's incident didn't happen, do you think that those martial emperors would let me go? Lu Ming sneered. Because of what happened at the Thousand Spirit Exchange, the four factions were after him. The relationship between them couldn't be eased at all. They wouldn't rest until one of them was dead. What was the difference if today's incident didn't happen? The two Sky Prides of the Sky Wolf Pagoda and the Sky Bird Palace were also stunned. They didn't expect Lu Ming to suddenly attack. Kill! Kill! Huang Ling and Long Chun exploded with terrifying attacks. Those two were careless and cried out miserably as they were killed by Huang Ling and Long Chin. Their combat strength was inferior to Long Chin and Huang Ling. Now that they were distracted, how could they survive? You didn't have to do anything. Leave them to me. Lu Ming looked at Huang Ling and Long Chin. They came to kill us. How can we not kill them? Long Chin said without any fear. It's a pity that one of them escaped. If the martial emperors of the Wan family find out, I'm afraid they will go crazy. Lu Ming said. These were the top Sky Prides of the various factions. This was a great loss. Even the powerful factions of the sacred grounds would feel heartache. So what if they go crazy? They killed us first. I must report it to the palace master. It's good enough that we don't find trouble with them. Huang Ling said. Beside Huang Ling and the other Sky Prides swallowed hard. Their hearts were in turmoil, and they couldn't calm down. A group of powerful Sky Prides died just like that. Most of them died at the hands of Lu Ming. He was really a god of death. How many Sky Prides had he killed during this period of time? Let's pack up and leave this place first, Lu Ming said. He then put away the storage rings of these people and left one after another, heading toward the mountain of alchemy furnaces. Lu Ming changed his form and aura again and followed beside Long Qin and the others. In another direction, a ray of light flashed and the golden crow-fourth prince appeared. At this moment his face was pale. After he stopped, he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and hurriedly put away his wings. Although that pair of wings was an excellent treasure for escaping, every time he used it, it consumed a lot of his body. Lu Ming, you killed several princes of the Golden Crow clan. No one can save you. You will die without a burial place. Chapter 1803. Lu Ming, Huang Ling, Long Qin, and the others continued to walk towards the Pill Furnace Mountain. After walking for another hour, they finally got close to the Pill Furnace Mountain. The closer they got, the more they felt the majesty of the Pill Furnace Mountain. It towered into the sky like an incomparably huge pill furnace. Moreover, there was a rich medicinal fragrance that constantly wafted over. It made one feel energetic and active. Boom! Boom! There was a violent explosion in front of them. It turned out that someone was attacking the mountain. There was a huge stone door on the mountain. A few young geniuses were constantly attacking it. All kinds of terrifying attacks landed on the stone door, causing violent explosions. However, the stone door did not budge at all. After attacking for a while, the few young geniuses retreated and shook their heads helplessly. It's impossible to break through. The entire mountain is indestructible. Someone sighed. There were many young geniuses in this area. All of them had gloomy expressions. They were outside the mountain gate but could not enter. They were unwilling to accept it. The arrival of Lu Ming and the others attracted the attention of some people. A young man in a brocade robe had an extremely sharp aura. His gaze swept towards Huang Ling, Long Chen, and the others like lightning. He revealed a surprised expression and said coldly, "How can you guys still be here?" Why can't we be here?" Huang Ling retorted with a cold smile. Long Qin transmitted his voice to Lu Ming. This young man was also a genius of the Wan clan. He was the #1 genius of the Wan clan, Wan Zhenyang. Obviously, not all the geniuses of the Wan clan, Skywolf Pagoda, and the other forces went to attack Huang Ling and the others. Perhaps in their opinion, those people were enough. Wan Zhenyang's gaze was cold as thoughts kept running through his mind. He thought to himself, could it be that the others did not encounter Huang Ling? Long Chen and the others must be so. Otherwise, with that force, they could have killed Huang Ling and the others. It's nothing. You guys are quite lucky. Wan Zhenyang smiled faintly. At the side, the other geniuses of Sky Wolf Pagoda, Ziji Sect, and Sky Bird Palace also looked at Huang Ling and the others maliciously. They also thought that Huang Ling and the others were lucky that they did not encounter the people who surrounded them. However, there were geniuses of all the major forces here. It was not convenient for them to attack. Let me try. Another person stepped forward and attacked the stone door, attracting the attention of others. This person had the cultivation of great sage, great mastery. Among the younger generation of the ancient Moon Holy Land, he was definitely one of the top existences. Even so, he was still unable to break open the stone door. After a few dozen blows, the stone door did not budge at all. He could only retreat in defeat. Then other experts stepped forward, but it was useless. This included Wan Zhenyang. This person was worthy of being called the #1 genius of the Wan clan. His combat prowess was extremely terrifying, and his cultivation had reached the peak of the Great Saint realm. There were not many people in the entire ancient Moon Holy Land who had reached the peak of Great Sage at such a young age. However, Wan Zhenyang did not blast open the stone door. Later on, a few more geniuses at the same level as Wan Zhenyang appeared. They were all the strongest geniuses of various forces, but they still returned without any success. Many people were silent. Outside the mountain, Emperor-level cultivators couldn't enter. They would be blocked. But now, here, a stone door was blocking the path of a young genius. Could it be that he could not enter the Great Pill Development Hall? Many people were extremely unwilling. Did you all see that? There's a brand on the stone door. Huang Ling transmitted her voice to Long Chen and Lu Ming. I saw it. It's very similar to the Origin Immemorial Inheritance token. Lu Ming and Long Chen both nodded. They had seen that there was a brand in the center of the stone door. It looked exactly the same as the Origin Immemorial Inheritance token. Moreover, there were words in the middle of the brand. However, perhaps too many years had passed. The words were no longer clear. Do you want to give it a try? Huang Ling asked. Let's wait a little longer. There are so many people now. If we try it here and open the door, wouldn't it benefit others? Lu Ming said. Huang Ling and Long Chen nodded. Everyone started to wait here. However, after a few days, there were more and more people here. There was no sign of it decreasing. I'll lure them away. You guys take the opportunity to give it a try. With that, Lu Ming moved and went along the mountain of alchemy furnaces. He came to the other side of the mountain of alchemy furnaces and then punched the mountain. The mountain shone and let out a violent roar. It could not be blasted open at all, but the sound spread far and wide. There's an entrance. An entrance has opened here. Lu Ming roared at the top of his voice. What? There's an entrance. Is it true? Whether it's true or not, let's go and take a look. Almost everyone moved and pounced in the direction of Lu Ming. Lu Ming changed his appearance again and left the place, heading in the direction of the stone door. After returning to the stone door, he saw that Huang Ling and Long Chen's faces were not looking good. It's useless. Long Chen shook his head at Lu Ming. Long Chen and I have tried just now. When we took out the Origin Immemorial Inheritance token, there was no reaction at all. Huang Ling added. No reaction. Lu Ming frowned. Could it be that their guess was wrong? However, the brand looked very similar to the Origin Immemorial Inheritance token. They guessed that it was very likely that the ancestor of the Great Pill Development Hall, who is also the successor of the Origin Immemorial sect, left this stone door. Only the successor of the Origin Immemorial sect could enter. Could it be that their guess was wrong? Was it just a coincidence? At this time, the other young people had returned. Damn, we've been cheated. Which bastard shouted. If I find out who's tricking us, I'll kill him. Many people cursed, knowing that they had been cheated. Then, some people began to study the stone door, but they found nothing. Lu Ming, could it be that our inheritance tokens are not of a high enough level? You're a gold successor. It might be useful. Huang Ling transmitted her voice to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded. He had also thought of that possibility. Lu Ming, I'll lure them away. You try, Long Chen said. Then he quietly headed in another direction. Not long after, there was a rumbling sound. There's an entrance here. Then there was another loud roar. Damn, it's the same trick again. That bastard is trying to trick us again. If it's true, let's go and take a look. Some people cursed and rushed in that direction. However, this time, some people did not move and stayed behind, especially Wang Zhengyang. He had been keeping an eye on Lu Ming and the group. At this moment, when he saw that Long Chen had disappeared, he was even more suspicious and stayed behind. Lu Ming furrowed his brows, but he could not be bothered anymore. The Origin Immemorial Sect's Gold Inheritance token appeared in his hand. Buzz! As soon as the Gold Inheritance token appeared, it vibrated. Then a ray of light shot out and landed on the imprint on the stone door. It really works. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. You have the key? Wang Zhengyang looked at Lu Ming with a fiery gaze. Buzz! The stone door vibrated and shone brightly. Then a door of light appeared. It's open. The Great Pill Development Scripture is mine. Chapter 1804. Lu Ming's face darkened. However, with so many people trying to enter the light door, it would be difficult for him to stop them. However, the result was unexpected. Wang Zhengyang crashed into the light door, and his head was spinning. He could not enter and was blocked. Damn it, how could this be? Wan Jingyang roared. Then he looked at the token in Lu Ming's hand, which shone with a blazing light. Kid, give me your token! Wan Jingyang shouted and rushed toward Lu Ming. A battle sword appeared in his hand, and he slashed at Lu Ming, trying to cut off Lu Ming's arm. Swoosh! Lu Ming moved and dodged Wan Jingyang's attack at the speed of lightning. He dashed toward the light door. Stay here! Two young men appeared in front of Lu Ming. They stood in front of Lu Ming, coldly, and grabbed at Lu Ming. Get lost! Lu Ming shouted and threw out 2 punches in a row. Bang! Bang! The 2 young men's bodies shook violently, and they were sent flying backward, vomiting blood. The law of chaos! You're Lu Ming! One of them shouted. Lu Ming, stay here! Behind him, Wan Jingyang emitted a cold killing intent. Sacred weapons flew out of his acupuncture points, and the aura of the weapons gathered. A terrifying sword qi slashed at Lu Ming. A battle sword appeared in Lu Ming's hand, and he slashed backward, clashing with Wan Jingyang's battle sword. Clang! There was a terrifying vibration. Lu Ming's body borrowed the force to move forward rapidly, rushing toward the light door. The light door was like a ripple, and it did not hinder Lu Ming at all. Lu Ming rushed into the light door and disappeared. Damn it! Wan Jingyang roared and slashed at the light door. However, the light door was indestructible, and there was no reaction at all. Moreover, the light dimmed, and the next moment it disappeared. What's going on? At this moment, the other youths rushed over and asked in surprise, Lu Ming, it's Lu Ming. He went in. Wan Jingyang roared, extremely unwilling. What? Lu Ming went in? How can he get in? The others were even more confused. He has a key that can open a door of light. Damn it! Shouted Wan Jingyang furiously. Then he looked at Huang Ling coldly and said, Lu Ming has a key. Do you have one? Hand it over. Lu Ming has it, but why would I? Ridiculous! Huang Ling sneered. Of course you won't admit it. I'll search for it myself. Wan Jingyang took a step forward and was about to force Huang Ling. As the number 1 person in the Wan clan's younger generation, Wan Jingyang's battle prowess was definitely powerful. Huang Ling was definitely not his match. Boom! At this moment, the entire Pale Furnace Mountain shook violently. Following that, a halo of light erupted from the mountain and swept out in all directions. Anyone who was swept by the halo of light was sent flying out of the mountain. As the light swept across, all of the young men who had entered were swept away, flying out of the mountain. Outside the mountain, countless people stood in the sky, staring at the Pale Furnace Mountain from afar, waiting. In the sky, several martial monarchs stood there, emitting a terrifying aura. It felt like there were dozens of worlds there, trying to devour everything. Suddenly, the Pale Furnace Mountain shook violently. Following this, the crowd saw a glow bursting out. Following this, the youths were sent flying out of the mountain at a shocking speed. They only managed to stabilize their figures after flying out of the mountain. Damn it! Wan Jingyang let out a long howl, his fury soaring to the heavens. What's going on? In the sky, the martial monarchs of the Wan clan glared at Wan Jingyang with sharp eyes. Senior martial monarch, someone has entered the Pale Furnace Mountain, Wan Jingyang said. Facing a martial monarch, even the younger generation would address him as senior martial monarch, out of respect. What? Someone has entered the Pale Furnace Mountain? Who is it? The martial monarch of the Wan clan's eyes shone brightly. The powerhouses of the other forces were shocked. They began to look at the geniuses of their respective forces, hoping that it was one of them who had entered. Lu Ming, it's Lu Ming. Wan Jingyang's voice sounded again. Many people were shocked by his words. Lu Ming. It was Lu Ming again. Not long ago, Lu Ming's name had caused a stir in the ancient moon, sacred ground. He was so bold that he had killed more than 10 geniuses of the 4 major forces at the Thousand Spirit Exchange. There were also more than 10 senior great sages. In the end, the 4 major forces sent out a large number of powerhouses and even martial monarchs to search for Lu Ming, but it was to no avail. Even some martial monarchs had heard of Lu Ming's name. After disappearing for a while, he had entered the Pill Furnace Mountain without anyone noticing. Even some martial monarchs were surprised. It's this kid again. How did he enter? Is he alone? The martial monarch of the Wan clan asked. Lu Ming has the key, and open the door. Wan Zhengyang briefly explained the situation inside. Then he looked at Huang Ling and Long Qin and said, You are with Lu Ming. Do you also have the key? Ridiculous. If we had the key, why would we be here? Huang Ling sneered. At this time, the martial monarch of the Wan clan noticed Huang Ling and Long Qin. He could not help but frown. Didn't he send people to kill Huang Ling, Long Qin, and the others? Why were they still alive? Then he looked around and found that several geniuses of the Wan clan were missing. He frowned and asked coldly, Zhengyang, where are Tian Chao and the others? Why are they missing? Where are Darkwolf and the others from Skywolf Tower? Why are they missing? Sky, Bird, Palace! Then the powerhouses of the major forces looked around and said coldly, They all found that some people were missing from their respective sections. Whoosh! The martial monarch of the Wan clan looked at Huang Ling and asked, Speak, where did my Wan clan's Wan Tian Chao and the others go? Huang Ling's expression changed, and she said, Senior, you must be joking. How would I know where your Wan clan's geniuses are? They are all dead. They were killed by Huang Ling, Long Qin, and Lu Ming. At this time a loud cry rang out. Everyone looked over and found that the one who spoke was the Golden Crow Fourth Prince. What? They were killed. The martial monarchs of the Wan clan, Skywolf Tower, and the others all burst out with terrifying auras. That's right. I saw it with my own eyes. They killed them. The Golden Crow Fourth Prince shouted, his eyes flickering with a sinister light. How dare you kill my Wan clan's geniuses? You are seeking death. The martial monarch of the Wan clan roared and took a step forward. This step shook heaven and earth as if the world was about to explode. The horrifying aura made everyone's expression change drastically as they frantically retreated. Huang Ling was the same. She quickly retreated, but she still felt a strong pressure. Her delicate figure trembled, and she vomited a mouthful of blood. However, at this moment, a figure appeared before Huang Ling. A similarly horrifying aura burst out and blocked the aura of the Wan clan's martial monarch. A bona fide martial monarch wants to make a move on a junior?